Hi everyone and welcome to creating an Instagram clone using Ruby on Rails. At the end of this course, you're going to have the knowledge on how to create an application like Instagram using Rails. If you don't have Ruby on Rails installed already, I'll have a video on how to install Rails linked in the video description. So check that out if you haven't installed Rails. Alright, so I'm just going to open our browser. I'm using Opera GX. It doesn't matter, you can use any browser that you want, so as long as it supports the latest bells and whistles. Then I'm going to open my text editor. I'm using VS Code because it's modern and has many features that I like, such as text formatting. It's free and I think you should use it as well. Then we need some kind of terminal, so I'm going to open up my CMD. You can use any terminal that you want. So the first thing that we have to do is create a new Rails project. To do that, first I'm going to navigate to the directory that I want to go to. So I have my terminal open and I'm going to cd to tilde. Then I'm going to cd to documents/github. And I'm in this folder now, GitHub on my C drive. And we need to run a command to create the new Rails application. So the command is called Rails new and then the name of the application. And we're creating an insta clone. So I'm just going to say insta clone. And when I hit enter, this is going to create a new Rails application. So I'm going to hit enter and it's going to create all the files. And as you can see, it's creating the application and the command has finally finished. And now I'm just going to navigate to that folder in my text editor. So I'm going to hit file and then open folder. And then I'm just going to navigate to documents, then GitHub. And here are all of my projects and I'm just going to click on instaclone. Okay, so now we have the instaclone folder open. And as you can see, that one command created lots and lots of folders and files. These are files that Ruby on Rails uses out of the box, and this makes it easy for us to develop in Ruby on Rails. I'll just give a quick rundown on all of the folders. App folder is where most of our development is done. Config folder is where we can route to specific views. DB stands for database. Storage stands for storage. Public stands for public files. The gem file is like specific packages, so we can specify the packages that we want. These packages are known as gems, and gems are just libraries that make it easy to accomplish certain tasks like user authentication and more. Alright, so we've created this new Rails application, and next I want to actually view it on my browser, in my browser. So I'm just going to cd, which means change directory, into the instaclone. And as you can see, it says I'm in the instaclone folder. And then I can run a command, and that command is called Rails S. This command starts the Rails server. S stands for server. So we can then just hit enter, and it will start Puma, which is the Rails server host, I guess you could say. As you can see, it said booting Puma, and it says listening on localhost 3000. So we can just go to localhost 3000. I'll just type that into my browser, localhost : 3000. And as you can see, we have a local server and we have our new Rails application here. Alright, so this video was getting up and running using Ruby on Rails. This video is episode 2 of creating an Instagram clone using Ruby on Rails. I suggest you go watch the first episode if you haven't already. In the first episode, all we did was create a new Rails application, and I explained the folders that come with a new Rails application. On the left, I have my browser. You can use any browser that you want. On the right, I have my VS Code, and I'm able to edit the instaclone directory, and I can see all of the folders. I also have my CMD. You can just search up CMD, which is the terminal that I'm using. And the first thing I'm going to do is change directory, which the command is cd, and I'm going to go into instaclone. Then what we can do is just run the Rails S just to make sure that the server is working. Okay, and then I'll just go to localhost 3000. And as you can see, we get the home page from Rails. Okay, so the next command that we have to run, we actually have to stop the server to run the command. You cannot run commands while you have the server running, so we always have to stop the server. The command that we're going to run is called Rails G Scaffold posts. So what is this command going to do? Well, first off, we have Rails, which is the prefix to show that this is a Rails command to do with Ruby on Rails. Then we have the G. G stands for generate, so we're saying create something, and then we're saying create a scaffold and name that scaffold post. So let's imagine you go on Instagram, right? And you see all these different posts by different people. This is what we're going to be creating with this command, and the scaffold is going to let us create, read, update, and destroy posts. It'll be easier to understand once we have actually created the command or ran the command, and there is actually some more to add to it. So I'm just going to add a title, :string. Oops. So a title, :string, then a description. I'll just zoom out a little bit, :string. Then keywords, : string, And then that is it for now. So we're creating a scaffold, which means we can create, read, update, and destroy posts, just like on Instagram. And then we're saying that each post has a title, a description, and some keywords that are to do with the post. So I'm going to hit enter. And this is going to create that scaffold, which means we can create, read, update, and destroy posts. And this is called CRUD for short. And the next thing I'm going to do is run the Rails S. S stands for server, so we're making it so that we can actually view the web page in our browser. If I refresh the page, we actually get an error, and the error says migrations are pending. And the reason that we get this error is because we just created a scaffold, and after you create a scaffold in Ruby on Rails, you have to migrate the scaffold to the database. And what this means is that you can actually change the database with the new scaffold. So we have to stop the server and we have to run another command. You can stop the server with Control and C. And the command we're going to run is called Rails db:migrate. This command is going to change the database with the migration we just created. The migration that we just created is in db migrate, and it's right there. And then we're saying create a table, call it posts, and give the post a title, a description, and some keywords. And when I say this, I just mean let the user edit or create a title, a description, and keywords. So I'm just going to run the command Rails db:migrate, and then that is going to migrate to the database. It's always a two-step process. You have to create a migration, and then you have to migrate the migration to actually change the database. So then I'm going to run a Rails S, and we should not get this error anymore. So this is the first error that we've ever encountered in Ruby on Rails. Very exciting. So refresh the page, and as you can see, there's no error anymore. We have the home page of Rails. So we just created a scaffold. Now that is one of the most powerful things about Rails. The next thing I'm going to do is make it so that we can actually see the scaffold and use it. Remember what a scaffold is? You can go back in the video if you don't. Anyway, we're going to go to the config folder in our application. Then we're going to go to routes.rb. The next thing that we're going to do is uncomment this default line, and we're going to say root posts hashtag index. And so what does this mean? So root means the root of the application. So let's say we went to like apple.com. This is the root of the application. You can think of the root like the home page. So we're saying make the home page posts hashtag index. Whenever you see a hashtag, that means whatever comes after the hashtag is actually the name of the function. And before the hashtag, it's the name of the controller. You can think of the controller as the name of the file, and it controls the application. So if we go to app controllers, post controller, we have a new file that was just created, and it's called posts_controller. Every controller is suffixed by an underscore controller. So going back to our config routes.rb, if we save that file and then we refresh the page, we will get a different page, and this will become the new homepage of our application. We actually get an error. And this error is saying permission denied rb file _s _rename. You might not get an error. This is just my error, because if I refresh the page, this error is going to go away. And the reason it comes up is because my browser thinks it doesn't have access to the file, but if I refresh, it actually does. So as you can see, the page has changed and we have this page now. Now, when I started out with Rails, I had no clue what a model, view, or controller was. So that's what I'm going to explain right now, and this is going to help you in the future. So the first thing that we're going to do is imagine the digestive system. The first step in the digestive system is the food goes into the mouth. You can imagine this as a user uploading data onto the site. For example, they're submitting a form, and that is an analogy for the food going into the mouth. Then the stomach digests the food. The stomach digests the food, and this can be referred to as the controllers, and the controllers change the data, they organize it, and they run their checks. So a model is the mouth, the stomach are the controllers, and then finally, what's the last step of digestion? It's the poo. And the views are the poo. They are the product after the controllers have run their code, and it is the product. So to recap, model view controller architecture, this is the simplest way I can explain it. We have the model. You can imagine that as the mouth. You put food into the mouth. Then the stomach digests it. Not just the stomach, other components as well, but let's just say that just the stomach. The stomach are the controllers in our case, and they digest or they do things with the information that they were just passed. And then as a byproduct, we have the views, and the views just give the user of the application information. So that's the model view controller architecture. Let's have a look now at what we just created on our application. So I just created a scaffold, or we just created a scaffold. And as I told you, this means that we can create, read, update, and destroy posts. So I'm just going to demonstrate this now. I'm going to give it a title of "This is my new post," and a description of "Hello, how's it going?" because I'm Irish. I'm going to give it a keyword of the first post, and I'm going to hit create post. So we just created a new post. That's amazing, isn't it? Now what are we doing now? We're reading the post. So as I said, create, read, update, and destroy. We've just created the post, and now we're reading the post. If I hit delete or destroy, destroy in Ruby on Rails is also known as delete. And so let me just hit destroy, and this is going to destroy or delete the post. Whilst the post was there, we could have actually edited it. I'll just demonstrate that now. If I create another post, I can hit edit this post, and now we can edit the post with new information, update post, and as you can see, it updated the post. Now, how close are we to Instagram? Probably not that close. There's a lot, but in a total of 10 minutes, we are doing extremely well, given that I've been explaining things along the way. So we have create, read, update, destroy, and we can do this by reading the post, creating a new post, editing the post, and deleting the post. So I'm going to delete it. Thank you for watching. The next and the last part will be in the description, and I'll see you in the next one. On the left, I have my browser. You can use any browser that you want. On the right, I have my VS Code, and I'm able to edit the instaclone directory, and I can see all of the folders. I also have my CMD. You can just search up CMD, which is the terminal that I'm using. Okay, so we ran a command, and that command created this post scaffold, but we don't actually know where it is in our application, so we need to figure that out. So first of all, I already explained the model view controller architecture, but I'm gonna probably explain it again because it is kind of complicated. So come to the app folder, and then go to the views folder. Then we see the post folder, and inside of here we have all of our HTML views, only that they're not actually HTML views, they're .html.erb views. This means that we can use the Ruby programming language in our HTML files, and this is a really useful feature so that we can actually correctly display different items using Ruby. If we click on these files, we see that there is already code in them, and we didn't actually create this code. This was just created using the scaffold. So that's already really, really cool. We didn't have to write any of this code. It was just created for us. It also uses JSON, but we don't have to worry about that for right now. And so that's the views. It created those views. Okay, that's cool. Now that's the poo. Okay, we already talked about that. Digestion system, this is the poo. Where is the stomach? Where are the controllers? Okay, well, when we go to controllers folder, we have the post controller. And in here, we have all of this code that was just created. We also created the folder just using the scaffold. Now, something really important to know is that when it says def and when it says end, that's what we call an action in the Ruby programming language. If you're familiar with other languages, it would be something similar to a function or a method where you just declare the start of the function and then you end the function using an end keyword in Ruby. Now, something you might not have seen before is that every single action in this controller is generally linked to a different web page in the application or on the website. So the new action is linked to the new page. The edit action is linked when I edit a post. So if I just hit edit post, editing post, that's the edit action. The create action is linked to when we actually hit create post. Same with update, same with destroy, and we'll get into the other actions. And so what I'm getting at is that there is usually a page or in the view folder linked to these actions. So we have this index action right here, and it's in the post controller. If I go to views, post folder, index file, you can see, and we have the post index. So the controller goes with the view. The next thing we should know is when we go to the models folder, we have a new model, and that model is called post.rb. And remember, the model is like the mouth. You can put food into the model or you can upload information. Then the stomach digests it and then the views are the poo. And every scaffold that you create is like a new body. It's like a new human being with a completely new system. So this is the model. We don't have to worry about it too much right now, but just know that the models are the files that contain all of the data in a Ruby on Rails application. Okay, so we've just created our first scaffold. That is completely amazing. Now the first problem, if you're like me, the first problem that you see with this application is that it looks absolutely horrible. And so what we're going to do is make it look a little nicer. And I'm going to show you how to do that in this video. The first thing I'm going to do is go to App, Views, Layouts, and application.html.erb. We haven't talked about this file yet, but application.html.erb is the file that renders every single web page in your Ruby on Rails application. So I'm going to say that again because it's important. The application.html.erb is the file that renders every single other file in your Ruby on Rails application. What this means is that if we change the application.html.erb, every single file in our application changes. So if we were to say add a CDN or a content delivery network to this application.html.erb, we would have that content delivery network on every single page in our Ruby on Rails application, because this file renders every single other file. And the reason it does that is because of this yield tag. If we didn't have this yield tag, you know what would happen? We wouldn't have an application. Look, refresh, and nothing happens. We have a blank page. Is this what you want? No. So I'm going to uncomment that, and we can comment things just adding a hashtag. So save that, refresh, and then we have our application. So I'm just going to go to bootstrap.com. Damn it, I'm enjoying this. Okay, Bootstrap 4, sorry. Bootstrap 4. And Bootstrap is a CSS library that will make it easier for us to style our application. It's just the most common one. It's quite simple, and I hope you already understand it if you're coming to Ruby on Rails. But if you don't worry, we'll be okay. So save that file, and then refresh. And as you can see, it actually already looks a little bit better. We have got rid of the underlines, we've changed the fonts, we've made the bolds a little bit bolder, and it looks a lot better, to be honest. But I do hope that this demonstrates how the application.html.erb folder actually works. If we change it, every web page in our application changes. Now that we've added that CSS content delivery network to our application.html.erb, we can just come to the views, posts. Now something to note is that when we go to _post.html.erb, notice that this file starts with an underscore. That means that in our application, it's not actually a page that you can go to. What it means is that this is like a component, and you can render that component on different pages. So let's say we had the about page, you could render the post component. Let's say we had the home page, you could render the post component. And partials are generally associated with components that we use a lot in our application. And so instead of having to reuse the code on every single page, we can just write it once in a partial, and then we can render that partial on different pages. So it just saves us writing code. That's amazing, isn't it? But anyway, the purpose of this video, and this is the last thing we're going to do in this video, is we're just going to style how this partial looks. So let me just go through this. So we have a div, and then we have some embedded Ruby. We haven't actually encountered that yet, but this is how we communicate in Ruby in html.erb files. It just shows that now we're writing Ruby code. Then we have a p tag, that's just a paragraph, and then we have a bold tag, and then we have a post.title. This is saying render the post, the title of the post. So I just click show this post, and on the left in the browser, I have this post right here. It says that this is my new post as a title. Description is hello, how's it going? What we want to do is get rid of the title, get rid of the description, and get rid of the keywords. And what I mean is this right here, and this right here. And the reason for that is, bro, Instagram doesn't have that. Instagram does not have when it declares the title, when it declares the description, and when it declares the keywords. And all we have to do is just get rid of this bold tag, get rid of this bold tag, and get rid of this bold tag. Save, refresh, and as you can see, it just says, this is my new post, hello, how's it going? So this video is already far too long, but thank you for watching. The next and the last part will be in the description, and I'll see you in the next one. In this video, we're going to add a navbar and a footer, and we're possibly going to look towards adding Devise user authentication as well. So the first thing that I'm going to do is change directory into an instaclone directory, and I can do this using the cd command. So you can see in the bottom right of my screen, I have my terminal open, and this is the CMD in Windows, and I can just say cd, which stands for change directory, and I'm going to say instaclone. This is going to cd me into the right directory, and then I'm going to run the command rails s, and this command starts the Rails server, which means we can preview the page in our browser, which means we can preview our application in real time. And so this is our application at the moment. This is the first post that we ever created. We can create a new post. We can give it a title. I'll say this is my new post, description of random, and then create post, and we can delete the post or we can edit it. Say back to post, and as you can see, it shows on the home page. If I get rid of this tab, I can just go back to the page and it's still there. And the reason for that is because it saves to the database. It doesn't save to just the local browser, so that's really cool. Now we want to add a navbar, so let's get that started and let's do this. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is talk about what is a navbar. So a navbar is the thing at the top of the page that gives you some navigation. For example, when I go to my personal site, pova.me, you have this navbar here, and you can see you have this navigation. We're going to add that right now. So the first thing that we need to do is go to views, because we're going to add a view. So go to app, views, layouts, and we're going to create a new file, and this file can be called underscore. Make sure it's prefixed with an underscore. That means it's a partial and you can render it anywhere on any page. Navbar.html.erb, because we want to have some embedded Ruby. So save that file. And then what we're going to do is search up Bootstrap example navbar. Get an example one, because that won't waste our time on simple HTML and CSS. So I'm going to copy and paste this code. It's just on the getbootstrap.com website, and on the navbar section, the navbar component is the first one. You can get a different navbar, it doesn't matter, the core principles are the same. So in the underscore navbar.html.erb, I've added my HTML CSS code. In the last video, we added the Bootstrap CDN, so do that if you haven't already. And we're going to save this file, refresh, and nothing happens, and that's because we haven't referenced the navbar yet. And so what I'm going to do is go to application.html.erb, and I'm just going to add another line of code, and that line of code is going to be embedded Ruby, which starts with a less than sign, then a percentage sign, then an equal sign to show that we're going to render something, and we're going to say render quotes layouts / navbar end quote. Save that file, refresh, and as you can see, we have our navbar here, and the hamburger machine doesn't work, and the reason for that is because we forgot to add the JavaScript for our Bootstrap. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so eventually I found the correct scripts, and first you need to add the jQuery, then you need to add the popper.js script, and then you can add the CSS, and then you also need to add the jQuery.min.js script. Okay, so now that we've added Bootstrap via the CDN, we can see that on every page that we go to, we have a navbar that works. We can go to any page, so this new post, and now we have a navbar. That's very cool. We can go to the home page of the application, but actually no, we can't. And the reason is because the anchor doesn't actually work. So what we need to do is add a correct link to that works. And so I'm going to come to navbar.html.erb, and we're going to change this anchor tag. We're going to get rid of it, and we're going to change it to a embedded Ruby percentage sign equal sign link underscore to. We'll say home, comma, because after every string in Ruby you usually have a comma, and then we need to specify where we actually want to go. And so I'm just going to say root underscore path. Now if you don't know how to conjugate a link to, then I'm going to teach you it right now. So first you say link underscore to, which basically means the start of the anchor, and then you specify the text that is going to go in the link to. Then you say a comma after that, and then you specify where you want it to go. Now, how do we find out where we want it to go? Well, first of all, this has to be a valid place in our application. If I save this file and refresh, it's going to take us home. Actually, I put it in the wrong place. I'm just going to replace that and put it here and give it a class. So we have to add a comma after the root path. We can say class colon navbar brand. Save that file, refresh. As you can see, it says home. Go to home, takes us to home. That's very cool. Now, anyway, how do we conjugate a link underscore to in Ruby on Rails? So first, what I'm going to do is go to slash, and I'm just going to type in a random string of characters. It doesn't matter. And here, if I zoom out, we have all of the links. And so as you can see on the left, it says posts path, it says new post path, and these are all of the paths that we can go to. Every path is suffixed by the underscore path in a link to. So root path, if you remember in config.rb, in roots.rb, we specified the root of the application. By saying root path, this means go to the root of the application. We could go anywhere else, and to find out where else we could go, we can just copy and paste these links and I did this just by going into this. I'll show you a different way to do that in a minute. We can copy and paste these links into the root path. So I'll just copy and paste post path instead of root path, and this will take us to the post path, which means it will take us to the index page of the post folder. So I'm just going to say root path because I actually do want to take us to root path, and then I'm just going to go back to the original page, and then I'm going to show you the other way to find the root. And the other way is, first we need to stop the server, and we need to run a command, and that command is called Rails roots. Okay, and now we get a list of every single Rails root that we have in our application, and beside where it says the verb or the get, the post or the get, beside where it says the verb, we have the posts, we have the new post, we have the edit post, and we can just copy and paste that in, suffix it with a underscore path, and then it will work. So I'm going to start the Rails S because we have to do that in order to see our application. Remember that, that's probably the most important thing in Rails. So refresh the page. Now we have a navbar. That's epic. The next thing that we're going to do is add a footer. Now what is a footer? It goes at the foot of the application, the bottom of the page, and all it does is cite pova.me, and as you can see at the bottom we have a little footer that says pova and privacy policy. So we're going to do that in this video, and I'm just going to get rid of this tab, and we're going to create a new file in app views layouts underscore footer.html.erb. So create a new file and name it underscore footer.html.erb, and we're going to do the same thing that we just did. We're going to say Bootstrap example footer. We're going to go to the first, actually we'll go to the second link. It says mdbootstrap.com. Here's a random footer that I just found. We can show the code, we can just copy and paste it, and we can go in there, save that file, refresh, and nothing's happening. And the reason why is because, again, we haven't referenced it. Just so you know, in a real application you wouldn't be using code like this. You would generally build the footer from scratch. However, this isn't a tutorial about HTML and CSS, it is about Ruby on Rails, so I'm not going to spend time doing that. So anyway, we need to reference the footer in our application.html.erb, and the way we do that is exactly the same as how we rendered the navbar. So I'm going to go after the yield tag because we want it to show after the content is rendered. I'm going to say embedded Ruby, which starts with a less than sign, then a percentage sign, and then an equal sign, and then we're going to say render, which is the keyword to render things. That's amazing. And then we're going to say quotes layouts / footer, and this is going to render the footer. I can't spell. Save that file, refresh, and as you can see now we have a footer. That's so cool. It doesn't look too good, but it does the job. This website is coming together. It's not so much Instagram so far, but it is coming together, so that's pretty cool. In the videos to come, we're going to add user authentication, we're going to add upload images and videos and more, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Now what I want to add next is some actual links in our application, but we don't really have that many yet. All we can do is really create a new post and delete post. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to navbar.html.erb, and I'm just going to, instead of this link anchor, I'm going to change it, and I'm going to say embedded Ruby percentage sign equals sign link underscore 2, remember, and then the string which shows the text that is going to go in, and I'm going to say upload post because that's what we want. And then I'm going to say comma, I'm going to say new underscore post underscore path, then I'm going to say comma, I'm going to say class colon because you have to specify a colon after the class, string, it starts with the quotes. I'm going to say navlink, I think it is, navlink, end quote, save, refresh, and as you can see we have an upload post button, and it takes us to the upload post page. Alright, pretty cool. Now I did say that we were going to add user authentication, but I think we'll do that a little bit later. I just want to make this look a little bit nicer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the form, and I'm going to go to the form that we're on right now. So go to app views posts underscore form.html.erb, and this is the form that we're looking at right now. We can enter a title, a description, and some keywords. And what I want to do is make it look a lot better, because right now it looks horrible. It does. It doesn't look horrible. Comment if it looks horrible. Actually don't. That's a waste of a comment. And so we've already added Bootstrap, and so all we need to do is add the classes to these components. So the first thing that I'm going to do is add a class to our text fields. So I'm going to say form.textField title, And after the title, I'm going to say comma, class, colon, string, and then we're going to say form dash control. And this is a Bootstrap class. If you don't know how Bootstrap works, basically it's a library in which you can specify the classes in your application, and then it has pre-made styles for those classes. So I'm going to say save, refresh, and as you can see, it looks so much better, doesn't it? Look at this one compared to the other ones. And so we're just going to do that with the other ones as well. So add this class to the other ones, copy and paste that to the other ones, make sure that include the comma, and then all of them will look pretty nice, look a little bit better. Okay, that's already like a good bit of an improvement. Okay, the next thing that stands out to me is the button. We need to make the button look nicer, the button. So go to, I'm adjusting these pages using the Windows and the arrow keys, by the way. So go to the form.submit, and this one is a little bit of a irregularity because we don't actually add a comma after form.submit. We never do that. What we have to do is say class, colon, string as always, and we're going to say button primary call-12. And this is another Bootstrap class. That means call-12, and it means it takes up 100% of the available width all the time. So save that file, refresh, and it will take up 100% of the width, and it looks a lot better. It has pre-made styles. The next thing I'm going to do is go to the top of the form, and I'm just going to add a div to the top of the form. Oops, I'm just going to make this look a little bit nicer. Okay, div, and we can do that using the div tag. I'm going to say class, we'll say call-xl-4 for now, and then we'll say end div at the end of the form, after the end keyword for the form, after the end keyword. Save that file, refresh, nothing will happen. Then we need to go to index.html.drb, and as you can see, we've got something a little bit weird. Actually, we need to go to new.html.drb, and as you can see, we have something that we've already seen before. We have a render keyword, and it says form. It doesn't say layouts because it's just in the same folder as the new page. And when we say render form, we're going to add a div tag around it. So I'm going to say .div. Actually, no, I'm going to say .row. I think that works. Yeah, .div class row. And then I'm just going to put that inside of it. And so now we have a form inside of a row, and this will work now, hopefully. Okay, it does actually work, but it only works when you're in full screen. It only shortens it when you're in full screen. So I'm just going to say call-md-6 call-sm-8 and call-10. So that's just going to adjust it accordingly. It's going to look a little bit better. So when I go to small screen, it'll look like that. And then Bootstrap isn't the library that I recommend you to use. I'm just using it for this application because this tutorial is focused around Ruby on Rails, not CSS. But I think that you shouldn't use Bootstrap because it looks way too common and everybody uses it. Okay, so this does look a little bit better. But what I'm going to do now is in the div, I'm going to say style. I'm going to say a style of margin auto. And if my CSS skills are correct, this should position it in the center. And as you can see, it does. However, the new post isn't in the center, and the reason for that is because it's not actually in the form, it's in outside of the row, and so I can just get rid of it, or we can just Control X, cut it, and we can go to the form, and we can add it inside of the form. Do we want to do that? We don't know. And so it's there, save the new file, get rid of that. Looks a little bit nicer. Oh, I just got rid of the whole browser. I'm very, very sorry. I hope I'm still recording. Okay. I just realized that my Audacity stopped recording. It's a rip today. That's fine. I have OBS. Anyway, go to localhost 3000 and we have and when I'm going to upload the post, everything looks a little bit nicer. So that's a plus. I'm just going to add a background color to the form. So background color, we're going to say, what do I know? I can just use my color picker, and I'm just going to go to this one, just a very, very light one, just to make sure that we can see it. And that's good enough. Then I'm just going to add some other styles. So I'm going to say border radius. This is just simple CSS. It's nothing to do with Ruby on Rails. 6 pixels. Yeah. And then padding 15 pixels. Okay, well, this is starting to look a little bit better. I'm also going to go to the new page, and I'm just going to get rid of back to posts because I don't really want that right there. We'll add that back in the future. Alright, so it looks better. It doesn't look the best. It actually doesn't look great, but it looks a lot better than it did before. In the videos to come, we're going to add user authentication. We're going to add upload images and videos, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. So what I want to add next to this Instagram clone is the validation of the title, description, and the keywords. What I mean is that I don't want to be able to create a post unless I have filled in these fields, so let's do that quickly. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go to app, models, post.rb. And this is the model file, and in this file we can make it so that you can't create a post without filling in the title, description, or keyword. So what I'm going to do is say validates title presence true. And what this is going to do, if I save and refresh, it's going to make it so that we can't create a post without entering a title. So that's already pretty cool. It doesn't look that good, but we're going to fix that as well. Then we're also going to say validates description presence true. It's going to do the same thing with the description. And then we're also going to say validates keywords presence true. So now we cannot create a post without entering all of these fields. However, what we're going to do next is add a minimum length and a maximum length. So for the title, I'm going to say the minimum length should be length minimum 5 and then maximum say 100. Save that file, refresh, and we'll just see if that works. So I'll do just 2 characters, and as you can see it says title is too short, minimum is 5 characters. Okay, we're doing this well, it's going very quickly. And I'm just going to copy and paste this to the other validate items. So, and then we'll just change the values. So for the description, we probably want a bigger maximum or a higher maximum than 200. So we'll say like 250. It's not very much. Actually, we'll say 500. Save that file. And then we're also, for the keywords, we're going to say 100 sounds pretty good because they're just keywords. So if we save that file, we won't be able to enter. It is harder to create the post because each field has to be filled out, and that's exactly what we want. So that's already pretty cool. The next thing that we're going to do is make this look a little bit nicer. So as you can see, it says 1 error prohibited this post from being saved. No one wants to read all that, and it's not very effective. So I'm going to go to the form.html.drb, and that is in the views posts underscore form.html.drb. And I'm just going to get rid of this h2 because we don't want that. Save that file and refresh, and then try and create a post. And it looks a little bit better. We've got rid of the prohibited. And we want each individual error to show under each individual field. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is just get rid of all of these errors so that we don't have to see them because we don't want them. And I'm going to go to the title, and I'm just going to say invalid, which is a new variable that we're creating. I'm going to say equal to part.errors.include. And then we're going to say parentheses, and we're going to pass in the title attribute. So now we're saying that invalid is equal to part.errors.include title. Okay, I actually forgot to include the question mark at the end of include, so make sure to do that. And then after that, we're going to go to after the text field, we're going to say if invalid, which in Ruby, which means if invalid is true, so that there are errors for the title field. And then we're going to have end keyword, and we're going to add a embedded Ruby part, and we're just going to say part.errors.full underscore messages underscore for title dot join parentheses quotes, and then something like that. So save that file, refresh, and we get an error, and we get the error that says undefined local variable or method part. And the reason for that is because our model is not actually called part, it's called post. That's my bad. So we just have to change the part to a post, and down here as well. So post. And then as you can see, if we try and create a post, it says title can't be blank, title is too short, minimum is 5 characters. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm just going to add a p style color red so that the messages are in red because they will pop out more. So save that file, and we're just going to try it again. And as you can see, it says title can't be blank, title is too short, minimum is 5 characters. And we're just going to do that for the 2 other fields as well. So we're just going to copy and paste this, and we're going to put it above the description, pass in the description attribute. So I just zoomed in, description attribute. Then we're going to copy and paste the if invalid statement, and then we're just going to pass in the description attribute again. Description. And the reason that this works is because the invalid attribute, the invalid variable is changing because we have it in multiple places. And then we're just going to do the same thing. So we're going to add the invalid statement at the top of the keywords, and then add in the keywords attribute. Then we're just going to copy and paste the if invalid statement, and then add in the keywords attribute as well. So we should have a decent looking error page. So create post, and as you can see, it says description can't be blank, description is too short, minimum is 5 characters. Keywords can't be blank, keywords is too short, minimum is 5 characters. Okay, so now that we have the validations for our title, our description, and our keywords, what I'm going to do is actually make the app look a little bit better. So I'm just going to add a post, first post, create post, and then go to the home page of the application. And I want to make this page look a little bit better. So I'm going to go to the index page of the posts folder, and I'm just going to add a class, and we're going to say text center. Then we're going to get rid of the h1 that says posts because everybody already knows that these are the posts. And we're also going to get rid of the new post path because we don't want to create a new post on the home page because we already have that link in the navbar. Okay, so this already looks a little bit better. It's a little bit unclear to when there's going to be a new post. So I'm also going to get rid of the show this post and save that file. And then I'm just going to go to the underscore post.html.erb. And this is one of the most important pages to our views, in our views. And I'm just going to add this link inside of here. And it's the same now. But what we want to do is add a class to this div. I'm going to say post container. And then what we're going to do is save that file. And then we're also going to go to the index page and we're going to add a new style sheet. So this is the first time we're going to link to a different style sheet. So go embedded Ruby equals sign, and we're going to go style sheet underscore link underscore tag parentheses, and then the name of the style sheet, we're going to say post and then end the quote, and then like that. And then we're going to go to the app assets style sheets, and these are when we add the CSS files. And I'm just going to create a new file, and I'm going to say post.css, and these 2 files should be links now. So if I say .post container background color black, we'll see what that happens. And as you can see, they are linked and it is actually working. So that's pretty cool. Now we don't actually want the background color to be black, so I'm going to get rid of that line. Okay, so this doesn't look very good. And so I'm just going to add a little bit of code to make it look a little bit better. So I'm just going to copy and paste it in, and we're saying background color or FFF. So we're saying the background color should be a little bit different. Then we're saying a border of 1 pixels, a border radius, a margin bottom, and a padding. So save that file, refresh. And as you can see, everything looks a little bit better, but there's still some work to be done. This application is looking more and more like Instagram as we go through the tutorials, so that's pretty good. Next, we're going to come to underscore post.html.erb, and we don't want to say show this post. We just want to go to the post when we click on it. So we want to make the whole thing clickable. And the way that we're going to do that is actually add a class to the show this post. So comma, class, colon, parentheses, we're going to say post link, save that file. And then we're going to go back to the post.css. I'm going to say post link, and we're going to say position, absolute, width, 100%, height 100%, and then we're going to go to back to the underscore post.html.erb. We're just going to get rid of the text, save the file, save the CSS file. Okay, and the reason it doesn't work is because I actually forgot to add a position relative to the post container, so it's just going in the whole page. So they're conflicting things. So we're just going to add position relative to the post container, and the reason is because we have to specify the top to be 0. So top 0 and left 0, and then it should be working. Okay, and it is working. So I'm just going to get rid of the background color, save that file, and it looks a little bit better. And then I'm just going to get rid of the E that I put. And now When we click on the post, it will take us to the post. That's already pretty nice. Now, when we hover over the post link, I want to make something happen. I want to make the user know that this is a link that is clickable. So I'm going to say .post link hover, and we're just going to add some parentheses, and we're going to say opacity 0.1. Save that file. I don't think it's going to happen, but what we have to do is say opacity 0 here, and we're going to say background color something like that. Okay, so now we can see that it is actually working. I'm just going to make it opacity 0.3 on hover to make it a little bit more noticeable. As you can see, it does actually work. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Thank you for watching the video. The other posts will be in the description, as well as the link to the code on GitHub. So again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright, so the next thing that I want to do is make it so that you can actually upload images when you go to upload a new post. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is stop the server with Control-C. And I'm going to run a command, and that command is called Rails active _storage : install. So let me run that command right here, Rails active _storage : install. And the reason that we're doing that is because active storage is the storage service that will make it easier for us to use images in Rails. It's the inbuilt service that makes it easy to use attachments like videos or images, and that's why we're going to install it. I think I just forgot to enter something. Okay, and now we've installed that, we just need to run a migration. So run rails db migrate, and this command is going to change the database so that we can actually use it. So if we go to schema.rb, we should see the database change. So if oh yeah, and as you can see, it says active storage attachments. If you refresh, if you go back in the video, these won't be there, these tables. So we know that the database has been changed. Then what we're going to do is run the server again with a rails s command. S stands for server, S stands for server. So we're going to start the server. Let's go. So we have active storage installed, and the next thing that we're going to do, is go to app, controllers, post controller. And the reason that we're going here is because in this controller, we can permit params. And if we scroll down to the bottom, we have this action, and it says def post _ params. And we're saying with the post model, permit the title, description, and keywords. We also want to add images. So we're going to add a comma. We're going to say images, : and we're going to say brackets. And the reason that we're doing that is because we want the images to be an array. We don't want it to just be one image. We want it to be an array of images. And so that's why we're adding the brackets. If we didn't want an array, we'd just go image, or we'd say : image. But we want an array, so we're just going to add images and then a bracket. Okay. And so now we will be able to permit images. So I'm going to go to upload post, and we're going to add a views posts _ form, and we're going to add a file field for the images. So we're going to say form.file _ field images, and that should be good for now. Okay, and now I'm just going to add some images. Oh, I actually have to say multiple true, so I'll just do that. So multiple true, save the file, and it should let me, yeah, okay, and now it lets me add the 3 files. If I hit create post, it says unknown attribute images for post. And the reason it does that is because while we let it permit the images in the controller, and we added it in the form to actually show the user that you can upload images, we didn't make it so that you can actually upload images in the model. So we have to make it so that has many attached, and we're going to say images. And with that, it should actually work. So if I save and refresh, then I go to upload post, I upload some images, save that file, refresh, add the title, add the description, hello, how's it going, first post, second post on site, create post. As you can see, it does actually work, but the images aren't there. And so what we have to do is display the images. So I'm going to go to views, posts, _post.html.db, and this is the file that handles the specific posts. So post 1, post 2, post 3. This is the file that we can change, and this will change all of how they look. So I'm going to add a embedded Ruby, and I'm going to say post.images.each do image. That should work, I think. So we're creating a do loop here, which is like a for loop, and we're saying iterate through all of the images that this particular post has. So then I'm going to add an end keyword, because after every purple keyword, you have to add an end. So keywords like if, do, form, and more. And then we're just going to add an image tag. So add a image underscore tag, parentheses. We're going to say post.image. Actually, no, we're going to say post.image. And then we're going to end the parentheses and save that file and refresh. And the reason it doesn't work is because we can't just specify post.image. We have to specify the image, because that is actually in the do loop. So this is the variable that we're saying this variable is. So I'm going to say image. And as you can see, it shows every single image, but they're way too big. So I'm just going to fix that. So I'm going to go to this after the image, and I'm going to say style. I'm going to say object fit contain. Or no, sorry, we have to say quotes object fit contain, and then width 200 pixels, height 200 pixels. Try that. Okay, and as you can see, it shows all of the images, so that's pretty cool. And that's already looking pretty good. Here we have the post that has the images. I'm just going to create another one just to see how it would look, and then we'll see what's going on. I'm going to have one of different dimensions, create the post. Oh, we have to have and then we have to upload the images again, create the post. Okay, it shows the images, go to home, and it shows the images right there. So fundamentally, our app just got a lot better, but the images don't look that good, and you can hardly really see them. The first thing I'm going to do is make it look a little bit more like Instagram. So I'm going to change the height to be 600 pixels. So height is 600 pixels. I'm also going to change it to be object fit cover. Give the file, refresh. And so I guess you could say it looks a little bit more like Instagram because the images are taller, but I'm just going to also change the width to be 300 pixels. There's one fatal flaw in this application. Well, there's actually many, but there's one fatal flaw. And that one is we need to make it so that only one image shows as the thumbnail, and then you're able to swipe onto the next image and then the next image. I decided that we're going to do this feature in another video. Thank you for watching the video. The other posts will be in the description, as well as the link to the code on GitHub. So again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. The next thing that I want to show you is how to create a static page. For example, an about page, a privacy policy, terms of service page, any type of page with static content. So the first thing that we're going to do is run the server using the command Rails S. Then we're just going to go to localhost 3000, and here we are in our InstaClone app, and we want to create a page with static content. So the first thing that I'm going to do is stop the server and right type the command CLS to clear it. And I'm going to run the command Rails G controller home. We're going to say about. And this is going to create a Rails controller that is called home_controller, and it's going to give it an action, and that action will be about. So as you can see, if we come to controllers, we have a home controller and it says about. Not only did it create the controller, but it also created a view folder called home, and it also created the about.html.erb file, and then it also created a root in the routes.rb. It says get home/about. And so now if I start the Rails S, and if I go to localhost 3000, I'm already here. So /home/about. As you can see, we're on the about path. So that's already pretty cool. Now I'm just going to add an about, quick about section. So I'm going to say, welcome to our Ruby on Rails Instagram club. Actually, welcome to our Instagram club using Ruby on Rails. Save refresh, and make it a bit smaller. And this is a page with static content. So the first thing that you do to create a static page, if you want to do it in the quickest way possible, is create a controller and give it an action. As you can see here, we have a home controller and then the about. And that command will create a home folder and an about view, and it would also create a root. And so the next thing that we're going to do is create a link to this about page. So we're going to go to views, layouts, navbar.html.erb, and instead of this drop down, and we're going to get rid of this drop down. And instead, I'm just going to add a link. I'm going to say link _to about page. And then we're going to say home _about _path. And I'll show you how to conjugate a link to in a second. And then we're going to say class nav link end quote. Save that file and refresh. And then as you can see, if I want to go to the about page, it takes us to the about page. If I want to go to upload post, it takes us to upload the post. about page. So here's how to conjugate a link to. Here's how to create a link to. First, you have to have the embedded Ruby sign with an equal sign to show that you want to render the link. Then you add the content of the link, for example, the text that will be inside. So I'm just going to say about page, and when I go on the left, it says about page. And then you have to specify the path, and we can find out the path by running the command Rails routes, and this will give us a list of all of the routes in our application, all of the paths that we can go to. And so where it says the verb, for example, get, post, where it says the verb in all caps, on the left of that, you have the route, and you just have to suffix that route with a path, and there's your route. There's the item that you can specify to in your link to, so home_about_path. I'll find it here, and it says home, and so right here at the top it says home_about, and I just have to suffix it with a path, so that means add an underscore path at the end of it, and then it will work. And then I said comma, class is equal to navlink, and that's just saying the CSS class is navlink to give it the default styling. So now we can go to that page. That's pretty cool. And our page just disconnected because we don't have our server running, so I'm going to start the server again. So to recap, to have a static page in Ruby on Rails, first you have to have a controller with the correct action that correlates to the views folder and the correct file name. And then you have to have the file in the views folder and in the home folder and in the about that correlates to the controller and the action. And then you also have to have a route, and that route is called get home/about, which means you are retrieving the content. You're not going to post any content, which means you're not going to submit any data. So it's just a static page. So that is how to create a static page using Ruby on Rails. Thank you for watching. The next and the last part will be in the description, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright, so in this video, I want to add Devise to our application. Devise is a user authentication framework, or Ruby gem, that will help us to add user authentication really easily. So let's get started. The first thing that I'm going to show you is rubygems.org. This is a website that contains all of the gems that are in use. So I can search up Devise, and as you can see it says flexible authentication solution for Rails with Warden. So I'm going to click on it, and this is going to be the first gem that we install in our Instagram clone Rails project. And to install a gem, you can either install it via the command line, or you can install it via the gem file, and we're going to choose the gem file. So add this line of code, I'm going to copy to clipboard, and then go to the gem file. And we haven't touched on this file before, but just know that it houses all of the gems. Gems are like little libraries or packages that help you to build your application with Rails. And this houses all of the gems in your application. So I'm just going to clean it up by getting rid of all of the comments because we don't need those. So okay, and now that I've gotten rid of all the comments, I'm actually going to add a new comment, and we'll say my custom gems, and then we're going to copy and paste that gem Devise. So this is going to add the gem Devise to our gem file. We have to save that file, and then we have to run a command, and that command is called bundle install. This kind of installs whatever is placed in the gem file. So we ran that command, and it said using all of these gems, and that's just how Rails works. But if we can find Devise in this, I'll just try and find it. As you can see, it says using Devise 4.8.1 right there. And so that means that Devise is successfully installed. But the next thing that we need to do is run Rails g devise :install. And before we run that, I'm just going to show you where I'm getting this knowledge from. And the way we work this out is by going to the documentation of Devise. So we go to github.com/heartcombo/devise. And here is the documentation. And it's also, if we scroll down, it says how to get started. And it says Rails generate Devise :install. This is the command that I was just going to run. G stands for generate, so it is the same command. We're just going to run that command and hit enter. This is going to install some Devise migrations. Okay. And then it gives us a list of what we should do in our application to make sure that Devise actually works. So the first thing that says, ensure you have defined default URL options in your environment files. Here is an example of default URL options appropriate for a development environment in config environments/development.rb. And so we just have to add this line of code, which specifies our action made our default URL options to config environments development.rb. And we can just add it here. Okay, save that file. So that's step 1 done. Step number 2 says, ensure you have defined root URL to something in your config/roots.rb, for example, root to home/index. So let's do that. Let's see if we have roots.rb. And as you can see, it says root post #index. So we have done that. So that's step 2 done. And then it says, ensure you have flash messages in app views layouts application.html.arb. And this is just for testing purposes. For example, it will say, you have signed up successfully or you have signed out successfully. So we're going to add that to our application.html.erb. So go to views, layouts, and application.html.erb. And then we are going to add this code at the bottom. Actually, no, we'll add it before the footer. So now we have our Flash messages installed. And the next thing that we have to do is run the command rails g devise views. And this is going to make it so that we can actually edit the Devise views. Devise comes pre-installed with a form to sign up. And with this command, we're going to be able to edit how they look and some other things about it. So we're just going to run the command rails g devise views. And then we can actually see the views in our application, which is really useful. And as you can see, if we go to views, we have a new folder that's called Devise. And we have all of these folders inside of the Devise folder. Registration is just for registrations and to edit the registration details. Passwords is for changing the passwords. And yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. Before running the server, there's one thing that we have to do, and that is to create a model. And we're just going to run the command rails g devise user. And this is going to create a user model. And with this user model, we'll be able to sign in with an email and a password. And it's just a name of what we'll be able to use. And really, it's just a name. It means that we'll be able to sign in and sign out using a user model. So hit enter. And this is going to create a migration. And we have to run the command rails db migrate. And then Devise is finally installed after like 5 steps. So run the command rails db migrate to change the database. I'll just go to the schema.rb so we can see this in real time. So schema.rb looks like this right now. I'll hit enter, and then we have an extra users table, I believe. And as you can see, we have a users table, so that's pretty cool. That's working well. Now we can run the Rails S. Alright, so when I go back to our localhost 3000, nothing changes in our application because we haven't actually viewed any of the pages yet. So I'm going to go to layout, navbar.html.erb, and we're going to add another link. And we're going to just copy and paste the link that's already there. And we're going to say sign up, and then we're going to say, and the reason that we get an error is because we have to specify new user underscore registration underscore path. Okay, and now we'll be able to sign up, and it takes us to the sign up page. We didn't write any of this code. That's the beautiful thing about Rails. We didn't write any of this code, and yet we have a form that we can sign up with. So I'm going to add my email. I'm going to add a random password and then confirm the password, sign up. And as you can see, it says undefined method user URL. And this is just a default Devise error that we get, and I just want to solve it right now. So the first thing that we have to do is go to config, initializers, devise.rb, and it's actually kind of funny because I'm watching my own video on how to fix this error. I'm sorry, I can't remember. So config.navigational_formats is equal to /:html, turbo_stream, and save that file. So restart the server by using Ctrl+C and then running the command rails s. And now, almost out of the box, Devise actually works, and we can sign up and sign up. And as you can see, it says welcome, you've signed up successfully. And yeah, that's pretty cool. It looks like it's working. The only thing is we're already signed up, but it's saying sign up again, and we want to stop that. So we're going to go to layouts, navbar.html.erb, and we're going to say if user underscore signed underscore in, and then we're going to say end. And if they're not signed in, we'll show them the sign up. But if they are signed in, we'll show them the sign out. So we're going to say sign out. And instead of the new user registration path, we're going to say destroy user session path. And this is going to destroy the user session, which means it's going to sign them out. And if you remember how to conjugate a link to, you just run the Rails roots command, and then you'll see all the available paths. But we'll save that file and refresh. And then we should see a sign out. And we get no root matches, get user /sign out. This is Malachi from the future, so make it a link to that looks like this. Then go to your roots.rb and add these lines of code to your roots.rb. So you can just add Devise scope user do get user /sign out to Devise sessions destroy, and then add Devise for users, and then the link to will work, and you'll be able to sign in after signing out. Remember to add this, it's very important. Your application won't work without this code. In the next videos, I'll show you how to link it to the posts so that each individual user has their own actual posts and no user can view other users' posts without letting them or being on the home page. We'll also make the sign up form look a lot better. We'll even add admin capabilities and analytics, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright, so in this video, I want to make this sign up form look a lot better. I want to add the capability to edit the user's registration details and I'm going to style that as well. So let's just get started on doing that. So this file, the sign up file, where actually is it? Well, it's in the views folder, of course, and it's in the Devise folder then. So we'll go to Devise, and then it's in the registrations new. And so in this video, we're just going to make this look a lot better. So we're not going to spend too much time on this, but I'm just going to add a comma to the text fields. We're going to add a class, form control, and then we're just going to add that class to every single text field because that is the easiest thing to do right now. And a Ruby on Rails tutorial shouldn't really be always about CSS styling. So, okay, there we are. And then we're going to add a button that says class button primary, which is a Bootstrap class, call-12. Okay, very nice. And then in Devise shared links, we want to make this look a little bit nicer. So I'm going to go to Devise shared underscore links, and we're going to add a class to each of these links. So I'm going to go comma class nav link. So we're going to add that class to every single, and I say that looks pretty nice. So I'm just going to keep it like that. Forgot your password, this one. So the sign up page is already looking a lot better, but we can make it look even better by going to the registrations new, and then we just want to get, and then we want to add another div. So dot call dash xl dash 4, or we'll just do call dash 6 for now, and then we'll hit tab on that, and then we'll put the whole thing in a div, and that is called call dash 6. Okay, and then we're also going to add a row, so div class row, and then an end div at the end. Save that and refresh, and we have this now. And the next thing I'm going to do is make it so that the row, the sign up page, is in the middle, and we can do that by adding a margin auto to the div. So div margin auto. Alright, so pretty quickly, it already looks a lot better. That's pretty nice. Something that stands out to me is this search bar in the navbar, so I just want to fix that even though it's not part of the video. So go to views, layouts, navbar.html.jb, and we are just going to get rid of this search bar for now. Okay, so now it's not there, it's better. Then go back to the Devise registrations new, and in this call-6 we also want to add a margin of 30 pixels. Actually no, margin 30 pixels, margin top 30 pixels, and margin bottom 30 pixels, and that should look margin bottom 30 pixels. Okay, and here we are. Okay, that looks a lot better. Then I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and I'm just going to add a style to the div, and I'm going to say margin top 15 pixels. And this doesn't look terrible. It's better than some of the sign up forms that I've seen. And we're just going to do the same thing for the login form right now. So go to the login form, and that is in the sessions new, and we just want to add a div to the top. We just did the same thing, call-6, and then another div, and we'll say div class row. Go down to the bottom and say /div, and then another /div to end the divs. Okay, and then we need to add form controls to every single text field. So add class form control with a comma, form control, and copy and paste that to every other text field. Sorry if I'm going too fast, but this is just what we need to do. Okay, that already looks a lot better. Then I'm going to search up Bootstrap checkbox. Got rid of that checkbox because we want to add a Bootstrap checkbox. So I'm going to go to form check label, I think. Okay, well, so class form check label, add a comma maybe, form check input. Okay, so that looks better. And then we just want to do the same thing. We want to position all of it in the center. So I'm going to go style, margin, auto, margin top, 30 pixels, margin bottom, 30 pixels, then scroll down to the bottom, add a class to the submit button, class button dash primary, call-12, and save that file, and we get an error. What did we do wrong? Maybe we'll add a comma after the submit. And so now that works, it looks pretty decent. We forgot to do that. That's why there's not enough space between the top and the bottom. Okay, there we go. So now it's looking better again. So sign up, sign in, looking much better. Okay, I like that. I'm just gonna fix the navbar a little bit. So go to the navbar, and go to the top, and then we're going to say comma style margin left 20 pixels, just because I don't like it being in the corner. That's better. Okay, that's much. Upload post, about page, sign up. Okay, so our application is coming together, and the next thing that I want to do is, so I'm going to create an account. I'm going to call it test@gmail.com, and then 123556 is a password. 123556, sign up. And as you can see, it says welcome, you signed up successfully. And we actually have two messages. We have two messages because we've added it twice. So I'm just going to go here, and I'm going to get rid of these flash messages because it turns out that we already have them in the application. So get rid of them in application.html.erb. Okay, so this actually is a little bit skewed. So I'm going to have to add a margin left to this div as well. So style margin left 20 pixels. Hopefully that works. Okay. And it does work. Alright, so our application is coming together. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is create a link to that says edit account, and we can edit the account details. So go to layouts, navbar.html.erb, and we're just going to add this li, and it says link _to, edit account, edit user registration _path, class navlink, border none. I'm actually just going to get rid of that style border none because we don't need it. Save that file, refresh. And this won't work unless you've gone to your routes.rb and you've added these lines of code. So make sure to add these to your routes.rb. Now when we go to edit account, we can edit the account, and it does work, but it doesn't look very good, and we're just going to fix that in this video. So go to Devise, so go to views, Devise, registrations, edit.html.erb, and we're just going to do the exact same thing that we've been doing basically the whole video. Add a class called form control, then go to the other text fields, and add other classes, and then we're just going to change the button to look a little bit nicer. Add a comma, class, button success, call -12 maybe. Okay, that looks okay. And then current password also needs to have a class. I forgot about that. Class form control. Okay, and then I'm just going to change the cancel my account. I don't want users to be able to delete their account right now, so I'm just going to comment this line out. We can comment it out just by adding a hashtag before the equal sign. So refresh, and then we'll just get rid of the HTML because we don't need it. So that's looking already a lot better. I'm just going to add a row at the start. Div class equal to row, and then a div class is equal to call-6. Then go to the bottom, add divs, and add another div. Go to the top, add a style margin :auto. Margin top 30 pixels, margin bottom 30 pixels. And so if we save and refresh, everything should look a little bit better. And as you can see, it does. There's quite a bit of space between the fields. I'm just going to try and fix that. Like right there, 6 characters minimum. Right here should be BR. Yeah, okay. So that looks a little bit better. I'm just going to I'm just going to add a BR before here. So add a BR before the actions div. Okay, and so that already looks a little bit better. So thank you for watching the video. I hope you learned something, and I hope you're following along. The other parts will be in the description, as well as the code on GitHub, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright, so in this video, I want to connect Devise to our posts model, which means we won't be able to upload a post unless we are already signed in. The post will also be linked to the specific user, which means that you'll be able to see all of the posts that a specific user has created, and you'll be able to see your own posts. So let's get started. Alright, so on the left, I have my browser. On the right, I have my VS Code, and in the bottom right, I have my CMD or my terminal. I'm going to stop the server. I'm in the instaclone directory, and I'm just going to run the command rails s to start the server. In the last video, we added the Devise. So in this video, we're just going to connect it to the post model. So I'm going to go to the Devise documentation, and we're going to copy and paste this line. It says before _action, authenticate user, which means before running any of the actions, authenticate the user, which means make sure the user is signed in. So we're going to go to app controllers, post controller, and then we're going to add this to the top of the file, and then we're going to say accept and then index and show. So we're saying don't let the user destroy, edit, or create a post unless they're signed in, and let them view the posts and show the posts if they're not signed in. So we'll go to the home, and then we'll refresh, and if I try and create a post, it should just take me to the login page, and as you can see, it does. It automatically redirects me there. So now I can't create a post without logging in, so that's already pretty cool. I'm going to log in, and now I can create a post. The next thing that we're going to do is do some associations, which means that we're going to go to app models, and then we're going to go to user.rb, and this is the user model. and we're going to say has underscore many posts. And this makes it so that the user model has many posts. And then we're going to go to the post model, and we're going to say belongs underscore to user. So save those files, and now we've made those connections. So we'll be able to specify like user.post.first, something like that, or post.user.name or something like that. Now, while we have connected them, we need some way to actually connect them when a user is creating a post. So we need to have like a user ID field in the form where we're going to create a post. And to do that, we have to stop the server and we have to create a migration, and that migration is going to be called Rails G migration add user ID to posts. And then user underscore ID is going to be a string. So hit enter, and that's going to create that migration. Okay. And now it's created that migration, and we're just going to go to the DB migrate, and then we'll see our new migration, and it says add column user ID to posts, and user ID is a string. So then we're going to run the command Rails DB migrate. And before we do that, I'm just going to come to the posts table, and I'm just going to have a look at the update in real time to make sure that it works. So I'll run the command Rails DB migrate, and then we should have a user ID here, somewhere here. Okay, and as you can see, it says t.string user ID. Don't ever, this is very important, don't ever edit the schema.rb, always use migrations to edit the schema. So now that we've done that, I'm going to run the Rails server again using the command Rails S, and then we're going to come to app, views, posts, form.html.drb, and we're going to create another text field. So we're going to first of all come to the form, and we're here in the browser, and then we're just going to add another text field. So we'll just copy and paste that. We'll get rid of the invalid statements because we shouldn't have that, and then we'll just add a user underscore ID. We won't give it a class, but we'll say type, and then we'll give it a hidden. So hidden. We'll see if that works. Okay, and it does work. And then I'll get rid of the form.label because we don't want to tell people that this is the user ID. And then we also need to give it a value. So value, and the value is going to be current underscore user dot ID. So we'll save that file and refresh, see if our syntax is correct. Okay, and then we're just going to get rid of the type, and then we're going to find out our ID. Okay, and it says 9. And it says 9 because our user ID is 9, because we are the 9th user in our application. In another video, I'll show you how to randomize the IDs. Actually, we're going to randomize the IDs right now. So come to app, models, and then user.rb, and then we're just going to add a little bit of code to this file. And so I'm just going to add this function to the file, or the action, and we're saying before underscore create, randomize the ID. And then in a private action, we're saying randomize ID, make sure that the ID is random and unique. So we're going to save that file. And actually what we're going to do is copy and paste this code to the post.rb, and then it will work. So we'll have random IDs for the posts and random IDs for the users. It's not going to show up now because my ID is still 9. But if I try and upload a post, but if I created a new account, the ID would be something with 9 digits. Alright, so we've randomized the IDs, and right now I'm just going to go back. And the reason that we randomized the IDs is so that people can't tell how many posts or users are in our application. For example, if we had posts and then we went like post/1, it might give us a couldn't find ID, or it might give us the actual post. And then they could just count and then specify the URLs, and then they could just count. But with this, they can't just find it via the URL. So that's what we want. So I'm going to go back to the form, and I'm going to actually hide the user ID. So save that file, refresh, and it is hidden now. So that's good. And we're going to add this and then create the post. And it doesn't work when we create the post, and that's because we have something in the form that isn't being permitted in the controller. And the reason that we can't create a post is because we haven't permitted the user ID param in the controller of post controller. So go to app, controllers, post controller, and after where it says keywords, we're just going to add a colon. Then we're going to say user underscore ID, comma, and this will make it so that we can actually create a post with a user ID. So I'm going to refresh the page, and then I'm going to create another post, and then add a post, and then create the post. And as you can see, we just created a post. And now what we can do is go to underscore post.html.drb, and we can say post.user.email. We'll try that, and we'll see if that works. And as you can see, it does. It displays the email that created the post. So we can see that this relationship between the posts and the users is working. That's already really cool. So the next and the last part will be in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright, so in the last video, we made it so that you couldn't upload a post without being logged in. We also added the associations between the users and the posts, which means you can specify the email of a user from just by looking at the post by doing post.user.email. And in this video, we're going to create a My Post page where you can view all of the posts that you have previously created. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm in the home page of my Instagram directory, and I'm just going to go to upload a post, and I'm going to call it, this is my new post. Hello, how's it going? Keywords. And then I'm going to choose the file. We're going to go so well guy logo, create post. And so that actually does work. Now this is the home page of the application, and it shows every single post in the whole application. But what we want to do is create a page where we can view only our posts. So what I'm going to do is go to app, views, posts, and then I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it myposts.html.erb. And then we're also going to create a partial, and we're going to call it myposts.html.erb. And so the first thing that we need to do is create a link in the navbar to this file. And to do that, we have to go to config and then roots.rb. And then we're just going to create another get root, and we're going to call it get posts my post, just to be safe. Okay, so create that file or create that root, and then we're going to go to layouts and navbar.html.erb, and we're going to add another link, and we need to make sure that the user is signed in to actually do this. So we're going to add it under the if user signed in statement, and we're going to say view my posts, and then we're going to say posts underscore my posts underscore path, and then that should work. Okay, and then we can say view my posts, and it takes us to the my post page. All right, that's perfect. The next thing that we want to do is go to posts underscore my posts, and we want to just copy the post to the underscore my post. Save that file, refresh, and then we should just get, and nothing happens. And the reason that nothing happens is because we're on the my post page and we need to render this partial. So I'm going to say percentage sign my render posts slash my posts. Okay, save that file and refresh. And the render keyword is actually working, but the my post thing is not. And I'm just going to surround the render posts in this for loop. And by doing that, we should have the access to that variable. So I'm going to add this inside of here. So we have a at posts each.do post render my post. And so save that file, and then we're getting a undefined method each, and that's because at posts hasn't been declared. So I'm going to go to the controllers, post controller, and then I'm going to create a new action, and I'm going to call it def my posts. And then we're going to say, my post, and then end. And then we're going to say at posts is equal to post.all. Save that file. Still getting that error. Oops, we have to have my posts. Actually, I'm going to delete this my post file because we don't actually want it. And then I'm just going to go to the index, and I'm just going to copy all of this index. So copy all of that to the my post page. Okay, and then we have all of this. And then we're just going to add a simple if statement. So we're going to say if post.user.id, I think, is equal to current underscore user.id, render post, and then we'll just say end. So save that file, refresh, and now everything should be working. So what I'm going to do is sign out of this account, and then I'm just going to sign up again with a different email. So we'll add a different email, and then we'll go to my post page, and we'll see if we can see that already made thing. All right, and we don't see it. Okay, so we've successfully created a My Posts page in Ruby on Rails using the if statement, if post.userid is equal to current user.id, then render the post. Which basically means if the current user is the one that created the post, then render it, and if it's not, then don't render it. Alright, so this is working pretty well, and I'm pretty happy with it already. Our application is coming together. Thank you for watching. The next and last part will be in the description, and I'll see you in the next one. In this video, we're going to add a comment section to the bottom of our post so that users can post comments about the post, and then they can read the other people's comments. You can think of it like a YouTube comment section or an Instagram comment section. So I'm in the home page of my application, and when I go to show a post, it takes me to this page. And the first thing that I notice about this page is that these three links don't look very nice. So I'm going to go to views, posts, show.html.erb, and the first thing that we're going to do is add an if statement, and we're going to say if user underscore signed underscore in, because we want to check if they're signed in first. After that, we're going to say if current user.id is equal to at post post.user.id to make sure that this is the correct user, because no user that doesn't own the post should be able to view the destroy button or the delete post button. And then we're just going to add another end. So save that file and refresh. And we actually get all of the links gone because I'm not signed in at the moment, which means that I cannot see the edit, delete, or back to posts button. I'm just going to put the back to posts in the out of that stage. Okay. And the next thing that we're going to do is run a command, and that command is called Rails G scaffold, which is going to create a scaffold, and we're going to call it comment. And then we're going to say text of the comment is a string, so text : string, user _ ID string, and then post _ ID string. So hit enter on that command, and that will create a migration. A migration is a file that will change the database or the schema.rb. And so if we go to db or migrate now, and we see this new file, we have this comments table, and it has a text column, a user ID column, and a post.id. And so now what we're going to do is just run the command rails db migrate to migrate this to the database. Okay. And now what we're going to do is add some associations to this. So what we're going to do is go to app, models, and we should have a new model here, and it's called comment.rb. That's really nice. We're going to say belongs _to, we're going to say post, and then we're going to say belongs to user. Save that file, and then we're going to go to post.rb, and we're going to say has _many, and we're going to say comments. And then we're also going to add the has many comments to the user.rb. So add that as well just after the has many posts. Okay. Now I'm just going to run the command rails s to start the server again. So run the command rails s, and we're going to go to localhost 3000 /comments/new, and we should have a form here. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say views comments _ form.html.erb, and we're just going to say form.hidden _ field .hidden .text field. That work? No. Okay. Form.textfield user ID, comma, type, and we're going to say hidden. Then we're going to put that as well on the post.id _ID, and then we're going to get rid of the labels because we don't want anyone to know that there are IDs here. But we don't need to show them realistically. So save that file and refresh, and as you can see, we just have this new comment and it says text. Okay, that's nice. And then what we want to do is go back to the show page of one of our posts, and we're just going to go to the show page, and we're going to say, oops, I'm in the comments page. I'm just going to go to the show page. We're going to say show. I'm going to say render quotes comments /form. Save that file, refresh. And we get this error, and it says undefined local variable comment. And the reason that we're getting this error is because we need to go to controllers, and we need to go to the post controller, and we need to specify the comment in the show action. So I'm going to copy and paste this line, and it says @comment is equal to @post.comments.build. So we're saying that the post model can actually have a comment in the show action, and if we save and refresh, this error will go away, and we can actually render the comments form. So I'll add a comment now. I'm going to say nice posts, create comment, and it says user must exist. Okay, and I think the reason why is because when we go to comment and it says belongs to user, I'm just going to get rid of that. And now we'll just try and add a comment, create comment, and it says comment was successfully created, and we have the post number. And what I'm going to do now is just try and render the comment under the post show page. So I'm going to say, and I want to render all of the comments, so I'm just going to add this do loop, and it's just going to render all of the comments and say their text. So we have the comment.text, and then that's pretty good already. When you create a comment, it actually directs you to the created comment page. So we're just going to try and change that now. So I'm going to go to the controllers, comment _ controller, and then to the create action. And instead of redirecting to the comment _ URL, I'm just going to say redirect to comment.post, and then get rid of the param of @comment. Save that file, refresh. And then when we try and create another comment, I'll just delete that one. When we go to the home, and when we try to create another comment, we'll say nice post. Oh, I forgot to add the @comment.post. So we'll just add @comment.post, save the file, refresh. And it takes us back. And I can just create comments, and it takes me back to the post page, and it says comment was successfully created. So this is already working pretty well. There are some minor things to be done, but we'll tackle that in another video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. So in this video, I want to make it so that you can click on the profile of the user that created the particular post in our Instagram clone. This is also known as creating profiles for users using Devise, so let's get started. The first thing that I'm going to do is stop the server using the command Control-C, and then we're going to create another controller, and that controller is going to be called users controller. So run the command Rails G controller. This command generates a controller. G stands for controller. A controller is something that can control the web page or what the user actually sees. So Rails G controller, users, and then after that, show. What this is going to do is create a controller. The controller will be called users controller because every controller ends in an underscore controller. So users underscore controller.rb, which is a Ruby file. And then because we said show after the users, it will have a show action, which is basically another word for method or function if you come from another language. So hit enter on that command, and then it will create our controller, and we're like 1/3 of the way done to creating profiles using Devise. Okay, so it has created the files, and now we're just going to run the command Rails S. To see that our files have been created, I'm just going to go to app, controllers, and here we have a new controller, users controller. We also have the action, as it says def show end. We declare an action using the def and then an end. And then let's go to the views to see if it created a view. So we go to the views folder, which is what the user actually sees. It's like the HTML ERB files. And as you can see, we have this users folder, and we have a show.html.erb file inside of the users folder. And that's exactly what we want. It also created another visible thing, and that is when we go to the config, routes.rb, and as you can see, it generated this route for us, but we actually want to get rid of this route because it's just like a static route and we won't be able to show multiple users profiles. So I'm going to get rid of that route, and then underneath where it says Devise scope user and underneath Devise for users, I'm just going to copy and paste this line in, and we need to make sure that this line is under these routes so as to not undermine this route. And we're just saying resources users, which is a special type of Ruby on Rails route, only work on the show page. Okay, so now we have the controller, the view, and the route. And the next thing that we need to do is go to the layouts, navbar.html.erb, and we need to create a view my profile link. But before I do that, I'm just going to sign in on the application really quickly. And now that I've signed up, I'll be able to actually view my own profile. So I've already created the link and it's right here, and we just have an li, and then we have inside here we have a link to view my profile and then the current user as the root. So I'm just going to create it again so that we're all on the same page. So link_to, and then we're going to say view my profile, and then we're going to say and end those quotes, and then comma current_user, and then as an optional I'm just going to say class nav link. Save that file and then refresh, and if we go to view my profile, we get the show page, which is exactly what we want. So now we have a link and it is taking us to the show page, and we have this route here as well, which is the special ID of this user. So this is already really cool, but we need to actually create the user's profile. So let's do that. So I'm going to get rid of this text in here, and we're going to start off with @user.email and save that file and refresh. And here we can see the user's email. Now you would have gotten an error here, and the reason that you got an error is because you need to go to controllers, users controller, and you need to add this bit of code to the show action. So @user is equal to user.find params ID. Basically we're saying that the user in the params is the one that we want to show, and with this you always know that you're focusing in on a specific user, not an array. You're just focusing in on a specific one. So add this line of code to the show action, and that will make it so that you can actually view the user's details. And as you can see on the top left, if I save and refresh, we have my email right here. That's the one I used to sign up. It's just a random string of characters. Sorry. Okay. So the profile has been created and it does actually work, but there isn't really much here. And so we need to actually add some more details. So the next thing that we're going to do is first we're going to add a username, And then we're going to add a description or a bio, like in Instagram. And then we're going to add profile pictures. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing that we're going to do is stop the server, and we're going to run a command Rails G migration add description to users. And we're just going to add that, and that will create a new migration. A migration is a file that will change the database, and we're just doing that so that we can actually add the columns to the users table. The columns that we're going to add are called bio and username. So let's get started. So if we come to the migrate folder, in the DB folder, we have this new migration, and we're just going to add underscore column. Then we're going to say users, and then we're going to say description. Actually, no, we'll just say bio, and we'll just say string. Copy and paste that line, and then we're going to add this. Instead of bio, we're going to add a username. So this will add a username and a bio column to the users table. Save that file. And the reason that we're not adding an image is because an image is not a text or a string. It's an actual image, so we can just use active storage. We'll get into that in a minute. So save that file and then run Rails db migrate. This command is going to migrate this file to the database, which means it will actually change the schema.rb. And if we go to the users, we actually have two new columns right here, bio and username. So we know that it worked. That's really good. Now I'm just going to run the Rails S command, Rails S again, sorry about that. And then I'm just going to get rid of all this. Okay. So now the server has started, and what I want to do is sign out. And then I want to go and sign up again. And we're just going to add some more fields to this place. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to app, views, devise, registrations, and new. And then we're going to add two more fields. So I'm just going to copy and paste this field twice, or maybe just a different one. I'm just going to copy and paste this field twice. Okay. And then we need to make sure that it's above the password, because it should be above the password. That's just common sense. And then we're just going to add a label of bio, and then a password field of bio, and make sure to add a text field instead of a password field, because we want to actually see what we're typing in the field. So add f.textField bio, which means that the variable that we want to permit is the bio variable. And then for the next one, we want to add the username. So we'll just say f.label username, and then text field username. And then we'll get rid of the autocomplete as well to make it look a little bit better. And get rid of the autocomplete up here. Okay. So now, if I save and refresh, we should have two new fields, and we do. So let's try and sign up and see what happens. So bio, my name is Malachi, and then password of 12356. Okay, and then sign up, and as you can see, it doesn't work. And if we look on our server, it says rollback transaction. And the reason for this is because it says unpermitted parameters, which means that in the controller, we actually have to permit the two new parameters that we put in the form. You can never have parameters that you don't permit in the controller. So to fix this, all we have to do is go to app, controllers, and then usually what we would do is we would have controllers here, and they'd be the user's controllers. So that's all we need to do. So I'm going to stop the server, and I'm going to run a command that's going to generate the default Devise controllers. So run the command Rails G Devise controllers. I think that's a command. I'm just going to make sure in the GitHub repo. And after where it says controllers, add a space and then say users as well, because that's what it says in the documentation. So then hit enter, and that will create the Devise controllers in the controllers folder. Okay, and as you can see, when we go to app, controllers, users controllers, we have all of these new controllers that we just created by that command. And if we scroll down to line 45, we see this commented out action, and we're just going to uncomment it. And this is the action where we can permit different attributes for example, the username or the bio. So instead of attribute, I'm just going to say username, and then we're going to say bio. And so with that, we should be able to permit it. But if we scroll down to the top or scroll up to the top, we just have to uncomment this line of code where it says before action, configure signup params, only create. And with this, we'll be able to permit the bio and the username fields. So save that file and then run the Rails S and we'll give it a go. This shouldn't work because we actually forgot to do something in our routes, but we'll just test it out and see if we get an error, whatever. Okay, and we're still getting an error. So what I'm going to do is go to config, routes.rb, and I'm just going to add another route. So as you can see, if we scroll up, it says, ensure you have overridden routes for generated controllers in your routes.rb. So I'm just going to copy and paste this into my routes.rb, get rid of the other Devise for users, and then I'm also going to just change it to registrations, users/registrations. And now when I try and sign up, this should actually work. And so if I save and refresh, and then I add all these fields again, my name is Malachi is the bio, username is Malachi, password of password, sign up. Welcome, you've signed up successfully. That's good, that's better. And now when I view my profile, what we can do is we should be able to specify the username and the bio of this particular user. So that's really good. So to test this out, I'm going to go to app, views, users, show, and then we're just going to add a user.bio, user.bio, user.username. So save those files and refresh. And as you can see, we have the user email, the user bio, and the user username. So this profile is coming together. The next thing that we need to add is avatars or profile pictures. So we're going to do that in a second. Before adding the profile pictures, what we're going to do is just add a H1 surrounding all of these elements to make them a little bit bigger, because right now they look small and that's not good. I can hardly see them. So add H1, and it should also make them block levels so that they appear on different lines if my CSS knowledge is correct, and as it is. So it says our email, our bio, and our username. I'm just going to add the username before the bio, as that's what it usually is. And then I'm going to make the username a H4. And then the bio. Actually, I'm going to swap out the username to the email, because usually the email is like that. Okay, so we have the Malachi as the username, the email is the email, and then the bio. Alright, so to make this look a little bit better, I'm actually going to invest some time and I'm going to make it look better. So add a div, a class, row, end off that div, then add a column, another div, give it a class of call-6, and then I'm just going to end off the call-6 div, then add a text center on that div to center all of the text, then add a little bit of style. We're just going to say padding 20 pixels, background color, hashtag, and then I'm just going to use my color picker, that color. The next thing that we want to add is the profile picture. So let's get started on that. The way profile pictures work is using active storage. We have already seen active storage, but basically it's the service that handles videos and images in Rails. We've already got it installed using the command Rails space active_storage : install. But actually, the next thing that I want to do is make it so that we can edit our bio and our username in the edit section of our edit user. So go to app, controllers, registrations controller and users folder, and we're just going to do the same thing that we already did. So I'm going to uncomment this before action, configure account update param. So we're saying before updating the account, use this method and permit the attributes. And then I'm just going to uncomment these, and then I'm going to copy and paste in our attributes, because we want to update the same attributes. So save that file, refresh, and nothing is going to happen because we actually have to add the form. But once we do that, we should be able to edit it, and that should be that finished. So go to Devise, registrations, edit, and then we're just going to add this same thing. So add another field above the password confirmation, actually above the password field, add 2 more fields, and then save it. And then actually what we're going to do is just go to new, registrations new.html.db, and we're just going to copy and paste because why not? we may as well. I think it's just faster. Save that file, refresh. And if we try and edit something, let's see, my name is Malachi. No, my name is not Malachi. Update, and it doesn't actually work because we have to add a password. Maybe we'll fix that right now. So we can't update our user because we have to add a password to update it. And so we could just add the password, but that's very tedious. So go to app, controllers, registration and controller, because this is the one that controls the registrations. And I'm just going to copy and paste this action because it's way easier than typing it out. But essentially, you'll have to type it out. So protected, def, update resource, and it takes in a resource and the params of the resource. And we're saying return if the params password is present. And then we're allowing the resource or the user to update without the password, obviously without the current password. So if we save that file and refresh, this should actually work and we should be able to edit the bio. My name is not Malachi, update. And then if we go back to edit my account, it says my name is not Malachi. Alright, so this is looking pretty good. Now that works. So instead of adding profile pictures so soon, what I want to do is actually make a link under the posts so that we can actually link to the person that created the post. And so to test this out, I'm going to go to views, posts, _post.html.erb. And instead of saying link to post, we're going to say link to post.user. And if we save that file and refresh, it should just take us to the user. Okay, and it does. So it takes us to test11@gmail.com. Then the other one was created by test1@gmail.com. And so now this is actually working. So I'm just going to put it back to post. And then I'm going to create another link. And we're going to create it outside of the div. And then we're going to give the text of post.user.username. For now, we'll just do email. And then we're going to give it a root of post.user. Save that file and refresh. And now we can just go to test11@gmail.com. And we have a link that takes us to the user that created the post. So that's pretty cool. Alright, so that's that done. The final thing that we're going to do in this profile video is add profile pictures to the profiles. And this isn't too difficult, so let's get started. So we already have active storage installed using the command rails space active_storage : install. And the next thing that we're going to do is go to app, controllers, users, registrations controller. And again, what we're going to do is add one more field and we're going to call it avatar because we want to permit the avatar. And this time we're forward thinking and we're just going to permit it in the account sign up and the account update before we add it in the forms. So then go to views, devise, registrations, new. Then we're just going to add a new field. And again, it's kind of the same process, isn't it? We're going to add a image or avatar, the avatar attribute. And then we're just going to get rid of the label. And then we're going to add a file underscore field because it's a different type of field. Save that file. And then I'm just going to go back to the edit. And I'm just going to add this again to the edit registrations. Then finally, what we're going to do is go to layouts underscore navbar.html.erb. And we're going to add a link. Actually, no, we're going to add a image underscore tag. Current underscore user dot image style width 50 pixels, height 50 pixels. And so this should actually work. So I'm going to save that file and refresh, and we might get an error. Okay, and we do. So I'm just going to change this to avatar because that's my bad. Save the file and refresh. And then I'm just going to say if current underscore user dot avatar dot attached, because we want to check if it's attached, because if it's not attached and we say to show an image of it, then we'll get an error. Save the file and refresh. And we're getting an error, and it says undefined method avatar. And you might know the reason of the error, but I'm just going to tell you how to fix it anyway. So go to models, user.rb, and we're just going to add a has underscore one underscore attached, and then we're going to say avatar. Save the file and refresh, and this error should go away. Okay, and it does. And the reason that worked is because you can think of this line of code as when we created the migration and added the columns in the database. It's basically the exact same thing, but for the avatar. So now I'm going to go to edit my profile, and I'm going to choose a file. Let's say this Windows thing, and then I'm going to update. And as you can see in the navbar, I have my profile picture right here, and it's right there. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Instead of it being down in the hamburger, I'm actually just going to put it next to the home button. So go to layouts, navbar.html.ab, and we're going to go all the way up here next to the home, and then it should work. Okay, and it's centered for some reason. It's probably because we have a text center somewhere, but now we know that the avatars work. And the next thing that we're going to do is just add the same thing, but in the show page. So go to users show.html.erb, and then we're just going to add this, and we're going to say if @user.avatar.attached, because @user is the instance variable. We couldn't say just normal user because that's not applicable right here, because that is not a user. So we have to have @user, then we have to change this one to @user as well. Save that file, refresh, go to test11@gmail.com. It doesn't show his avatar because test11@gmail.com doesn't have an avatar. I apologize for the emails, but that's just the way it goes. Alright, so this is everything that I wanted to do in this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope everything worked. If it didn't work, leave me a comment down below and I'll be happy to answer it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, and now I'm going to like this post, and now you can see it has 2 likes. I'm going to unlike this post, and it has 1 like. In this video, we're going to add a like button to all of our posts so that we can like them and unlike them. We're going to be using Ruby on Rails, and it's going to work the exact same way like an Instagram like button or like a Facebook like button. So let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to do is create a model, and I'm in the instaclone directory, and I'm going to run the command rails gmodel, and then we're going to call the model like, and then we're going to say user references and post references. The reason that we do this is so that we have some references to the user that will like and the post and the specific post that we're going to be liking. So hit enter, and that will create the model. And now that it's created the model migration, we have to go into DB, migrate, and then into this new migration that was just created. And here we have our create table likes. It also has the references to the post and the user, so that's good. But we need to add one more line, and this line is going to be called add_index likes. And then we're going to pass in our user ID and post ID, and I'm just going to say unique true. And the reason that we're doing this is so that we want to make it so that no user can like a specific post twice. So we're saying that the user ID has to be unique for the post ID in order for the like to work, so that no user can like a post twice. So save the migration, and then run the command rails db migrate. This is going to migrate the file to the database, so the schema.rb will change and the table will be created. My bad, we actually get an error because we have to add a comma after this likes. That's just a simple error, my bad. Save that file and then run the command rails db migrate again, and then this migration will run. Sorry about that. Okay, and now the migration has been migrated. That's all well and good. The next thing that we're going to do is go to app models like.rb, and we're going to add a validation. This validation is going to be called validates user ID, uniqueness, scope, post ID. Essentially, it's doing the same thing that we just did, and it's making it so that no user can like a post twice because the user ID has to be unique for the given post. So save that file, and then we're going to go to post.rb, and we're going to add another association, and we're going to say has_many likes, because posts have to have many likes. Then go to user.rb, and we're going to say has_many likes for the same reason. Save the files. And now what we're going to do is run a command, and that command is going to be called rails gcontroller, because we're going to create a controller, and we're going to call it likes. And then after the likes, I'm going to create 3 actions. I'm going to say create, destroy, and like_params. So run that command. Okay, and now when we go to the controllers, we have a new controller, and it's called like_controller with these 3 actions. Now we're going to go to roots.rb, and we should have 3 new roots created. And as you can see at the top, we have these 3 get roots. I'm just going to get rid of it. And then what we're going to do is say resources, because that's just easier. And we're going to say likes only create and destroy, because like params won't need a resource or a root. So save that file, save the roots.rb with this resources likes, only create and destroy. And then what we're going to do is go to likes controller and to the create action. And I'm going to add this little bit of code. We're saying @like is equal to current user .likes.new, and then pass in the like params, which we haven't filled in yet. But we're saying create a new like, and if the like doesn't save correctly, flash the alert, you have already liked this part. I'm actually just going to say post instead of part. Okay, and then we're going to create the like params. So we're going to say params.require like.permit, and we're going to say post_id. So save that file. And while we're here, we may as well go into the destroy action and add the destroy code as well. So we're going to say @like is equal to current_user .likes.find params id, and then we're going to say @like.destroy to destroy that particular like. Okay, so now we have our controller all set up. We have the create and the destroy, and then the params that we're going to pass. So this is looking very good. We're doing it in record-breaking time. Let's go. The next thing that we're going to do is go to app, views, and we're going to come to the post, and we're going to go to _post.html.erb. And then I'm just going to copy and paste in this button 2, which is a form. A button 2 is like a small form. And we're saying it has a value of like, and it will go to the likes path, and it will pass the param, and it'll pass the post.id with the method of post. So if I save that file and then refresh, we won't get the page because I have to start the Rails S, but start this. So run the command Rails S to start the server so that we can actually view the page in our browser. And then I'm just going to refresh the page, and now they all have a like button, so that's good. I'm just going to get rid of this link 2 that says post so that I can actually click the like button. Okay. And then I'm just going to click like. And then what I'm going to do is say, I'm going to render the current, I'm going to say post.likes.count. And then we're just going to say likes. And this should give us a count of all of the likes on this particular post. So save that file and refresh. And so we see it says 0 likes. If we click like, it doesn't actually refresh. It doesn't increment the like counter. And the reason that it doesn't increment the like counter is because we have to pass the param post_id instead of part_id. That's just a minor error. And so if we save and refresh, we should actually be able to like the posts. And if we like it twice, it won't work because it has to be unique. So that's already working. What I'm actually going to do is go to controllers, likes controller, and after liking the post, I'm going to say redirect_to, and then we're just going to say, well, for now we'll just do root_path, maybe, just to make sure that it is actually working. Okay, so I'm going to like this post. Okay, very nice. Like this one. And so now what we need to do is add an unlike button. So when we've liked it, we want to check that if we have liked it, and if we have already liked it, we want to show the unlike button. So let's go and do that. So I'm going to go back to _post.html.erb, and then I'm going to add this if statement, and we're going to say like is equal to current user .likes.find by part, and I'm going to change this to post and then post. So we're saying that like, the variable that we just created, is equal to the current user's likes and this particular post. And then we're saying if like.nil, so if we have no likes on this particular post, then render the like button. And then I'm just going to say else, and then we're going to say end, and then we're just going to show a unlike. So save that file and refresh, and then we have an unlike button on all of these posts, but it won't actually work because it's not an actual button. So I'm going to copy and paste this button to the else, underneath the else, and then we're going to say unlike, and then I'm just going to specify like_path, and then pass in the param, the like param, because that is the like param, and then we can get rid of this line of code. So just include the method, and the method is going to be delete. So save that and refresh, and we're getting a syntax error because I forgot to add a comma right here. So add that comma, save and refresh, and now we have an unlike button. I think it is actually working, but I'm just going to redirect to root path after we destroy, just to make sure. Okay, so I'm going to like, and then I'm going to unlike, And as you can see, it is working. I'm going to like again, and then I'm going to sign out. And as I signed out, we got this error and it says like is equal to current user.like.findBy. So just add a if user underscore signed underscore in question mark before the like is equal to current user.like.findBy post, just to make sure that we don't get any errors. So save that file and refresh. Now I'm signed out successfully. I'm going to sign up again with a different email. So okay, and now I'm going to like this post, and now you can see it has 2 likes. I'm going to unlike this post, and it has 1 like. So this method is already working. In another video, I'm sure we'll style this unlike and like button to make it look a little bit better. But for now, everything is working smoothly, so that's nice to see. Thank you for watching the video. You can view the code on GitHub if you want. Leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next one. In this video, we will be implementing a following system similar to one of Instagram, where you can follow a user. For example, I will follow ian@gmail.com. Then I will go into the homepage, and ian@gmail.com will show up underneath my following. You can also see the list of all of my followers right here. So this is what we'll be implementing in this video. We'll be using Ruby on Rails, and let's get started. All of the code is on GitHub, so you can copy and paste it. The gem that we'll be using is called Followability. It's developed by Nejdet Kadir, and to install the gem, we're going to run the command gem install followability. So I'm going to stop my server, and then I'm going to run that command gem install followability. I'll just bump up the font size, and this is one way to do it, or you can go to the gem file and you can add it to the gem file. As you can see, I'm just going to uncomment it right here, and then I'm going to save the file, and then I'm going to run bundle install. Okay, so now it's installed. The next thing that we're going to do is install the followability migrations, because it has to have some migrations. So run the Rails G followability install command, and that will install its migrations, and then we'll just have to run a Rails db migrate. Okay, and now we're going to run Rails db migrate to migrate the migrations to the database, or actually change the schema.rb. So we'll go to db schema.rb, and we should see some new table that was created. And as you can see, we have this followability relationships. It didn't show up for me as creating a new table because I have already installed this migration, but it would have for you. The next thing that we're going to do is go into user.rb. So go to user.rb by searching it up, or we can go to app models and go to user.rb, and then we just have to add the followability to the top of the user.rb. So add this line, followability. Now the gem is installed and we can actually start using it. So the first thing that we're going to do is head over to roots.rb. Roots.rb is in the config file, so go to config and then roots.rb, and here we have all of our roots, and these are the 5 roots that we're going to need for this video. They're all post roots because we're going to be sending information. We're going to be sending whether we want to unfollow, follow, accept, decline, or cancel follows, and they will be mapped to controller actions, and that's why we need the post roots. So add all of these roots to your roots.rb, and then that will be the routing done. First we have the follow root, then the unfollow root, then the accept root, then the decline route, and then the cancel route. The way it works is that you just have the /users and then the ID of the particular user, and then whether you want to follow them, or whether you want to unfollow them, or whether you want to accept their follow request, decline it, or cancel your pending request. And so once we have the routes done, we're going to navigate to controllers or app controllers, and to this users_controller.rb, and this is the controller that make up the controller that we've already added. And to make sure that we're on the same page, I'm just going to get rid of all of them, and then we're going to start together. So first of all, we're saying before action set user. That's because we need the particular user to set. We need to find the ID of the user. Then we're saying before action authenticate. The user to make sure that they're signed in. If they're not signed in, it will take them to the login page. And then we have the show action, because when we go to views, users, and then we have a show page, this action name has to correspond with the name of the page. That's why it's called show. And then we have the follow action, the unfollow action, the accept action, the decline action, and the cancel action. So quickly, I'm just going to go through all of these actions, and you can type it into your user's controller. So first of all, we have this def follow. That's the follow action. And we're saying current user.send follow request to @user. @user is the user that we'll be specifying in the URL. So remember that we had /users and then /the ID of the user. The ID of that user is the @user instance variable. And then we're saying @user.accept follow request of the current user, because we don't want the user to be able to, which means that say I sent you a request to follow you, you would have to automatically accept it, and this is what this is doing. And then we're saying after following, redirect to the user's path of the user. So redirect to the profile of that particular user. And then we have the def unfollow. And this one's a little bit different because current user.unfollow user isn't actually a method. If you try and do this, this won't actually work because we have to have it in our model. So in your model, you should have this line of code. So go to model user.rb, and I had to add this action. I got it from dnin, and we're just saying def unfollow, and then we're taking in the param of user, followable underscore relationships dot where followable ID is equal to user.ie, and then destroy all. So basically we're saying destroy the relationships that have the same user ID as the one that we want to unfollow. So make sure to add this action to your model.rb and make sure that there isn't a private above it. Make sure the private is below it. Otherwise you won't be able to access it. So go to users controller, and then I'm just going to uncomment the redirect to user's path and then the end. And then we have the accept action. This is when you want to accept someone following you. And we're just saying current user.accept follow request of @user, and then redirect to the user's path of that particular user, end. It's very similar with the decline action. So we're saying current user.decline follow request of @user, and then redirect. And then finally the cancel action, current user.remove follow request for @user. So they're saying we don't actually need this one because we're automatically accepting the follow request. So we'll never be able to cancel it, but we'll keep it anyway, just in case for future use. And then make sure to uncomment or add def set user, because we need to set the user in the before action so that we can actually use this @user instance variable. So save that file, and now we have our controller all configured, so that's really good. And the next thing that we also have to do is go to the views. So I'm just going to start my Rails server to see what we have so far. So I'm going to click on this random user that I've selected, and I already have this follow button. And that's because when I go to app, views, users, and then the show page, I have all of this code right here. And we're saying if current user.following @user, button to unfollow. If they've already sent a follow request to, say cancel follow request, else show them the follow button. So I'm just going to go through this one by one. So first we're saying if current user.following @user. So if we're following this particular user with an ID of this random string of characters, then show an unfollow button. If we've already sent a follow request to them, then show the cancel follow request button or form, and else show the follow button. So now this is already working. If I go and click follow, for this particular user it won't actually work because test11@gmail.com is the user that I'm signed in on, but I'll just find a different user and then we'll try it there. So malashkarian@gmail.com. So we'll click follow, and it will say unfollow because I've already followed the user, and we have this if statement here, and it says if current user.following @user, show them the button to unfollow. Just so you know, these button twos are actually forms. So if we inspect the element, it creates a little form with a class name of button_2. Just so you know that's just something that Rails does. So it's just a Rails helper. So in your users show, add the if current user.following @user, show them the button to unfollow, else if the current user has already sent a follow request to @user, show them the cancel follow request, and else just show them the button to follow the user. And then the last thing that we have to do is go to the home page. So go to posts index.html.arb, and we're just going to show the user's current followers. And at the top, we're actually saying, and I'll have all this code on GitHub by the way, if the user is signed in, to make sure that we don't get any errors, because we have to use the current user variable, current user.follow request.each.do request. So we have a for loop here with all of the current users follow requests. And then we're just showing the request's email, and then we're saying wants to follow you, and then you can either accept or decline the follow request. In this configuration, when we go to users controller, we're actually already accepting the follow request automatically because of this line right here. If you don't want to automatically accept the follow request, because for whatever reason, you can just uncomment that line and then it will work. But for me, I actually do want to automatically accept the follow request because I think that's just easier. So in the index action, add the if user signed in, the for loop or the do loop, and then this accept or decline buttons. And then we have another do loop where we say link to the follower.email, which is when we go to home, I have all these followers right here that are following me. And the way they followed me is by they clicked on my post and they clicked follow. And now I can click on their profile and I can click unfollow, and then they won't show up on my homepage. Then we also have a link, and then we also have a do loop of all of the people that this current user is currently following. And then we're saying link to their emails, so link to their profile and with the text of the email. So this configuration is already working. So yeah, thank you for watching the tutorial. Check out my other Rails tutorials and I'll see you in the next one. So in this video, we are going to implement a search filter. So as you can see right here, I have a search bar and I'm just going to search up a particular user beginning with MAL. And then I click search and it will show me all of the users that begin with MAL, and it won't show any other users. So we're filtering via search in this video, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Let's get started. So the first thing that we need to have is a gem, and that gem is called gem ransack. So add gem ransack to your application and save the file. And this is a gem that will make it easy to add searching functions in our application, in our Rails application. So after we install that gem, we're going to stop the server and we're going to run a command bundle install. There is extensive documentation on ransack if you want to go look it up, and their documentation is pretty good and quite easy to follow, so that's pretty nice. So now we have ransack installed. That's pretty good. We don't have to install any migrations or that. Ransack is already installed. The next thing that I have to do is run a command, and that command is going to be called Rails gcontroller profiles index. And that's because we want to create a controller for the profiles of all the users, and that is going to go to an index page. So as you can see on the left in my browser, I'm on the index page where I can see all of the users that begin with MAL. So run that command, and then that should have generated you a profiles controller and a profiles view folder. So go to app, controllers, profiles controller, and I already have code here, but you won't have this code here. So I'm just going to write it out with you. So first we have an index action, and you will have this. We're just going to say @users is equal to the users action. Then we're saying in the users action, create this and make your profiles controller look like mine in order to make it work. And in the users action, we're just saying match the search query to the username. So if the username of the users contains the search query that we have in the search bar, then match it and make the users array equal to those that match the search query. And so it's pretty simple. I think we can actually just get rid of this line right there. So that makes it a little bit easier. Save the file. After we've done that, and we've created the controller, that's all we need to do in the controller. That's our search. It's very simple. All we have to do is go to app, views, and then profiles and index, and this is the new page that we just created. I've already implemented this, so whatever you see in my application, just copy it to your own. And so in this index page, I've already added a div that has a class of text center, and then I've created a do loop that loops around all of the users, and then it renders each particular user. And we're doing the filtering in the controller, and we're saying that the filter is equal to whatever user matches the search query. And then we're saying to render the users that match the search query. So it's good. Now you won't actually be able to render this profiles index page unless you go to config. Let's go to config, roots.rb, and you have to add this get profile/index. This is a root that will allow us to route to this profiles index page. So it allows us to see it if we go to this URL in our application. So add a get profile/index. And then finally, we're going to add the search bar. So go to app, views, layouts, navbar.html.arb, and we have to add this form. And this form just goes to the profiles index path, and it passes a param called query. And this param is the query that we want to query, and it will pass that to the controller, and then it will match the usernames to the queries, and it will show the specific users that are the correct users. So once you have this form, everything should be working. I also added a style sheet link tag navbar.css, and then if we go to assets, style sheets, navbar.css, these are files that I created. You can see the .search field, padding 20 pixels, border none. It's just some simple CSS that I added in an external CSS style sheet file. So with all that out of the way, we'll go run the Rails S, and then our search filter should be working. And I'm just going to go over everything I just said really slowly to make sure that you understand in a second. So I'll just search up any user. We'll say Malachel, and then we'll see all the users that begin with Malachel. If we search up just randomness, we get nothing because no users return with that query. And I'm actually just going to go to profiles index, and I'm going to add a thing that says if results equal to 0, if there are no results, then just say no results found or something like that. So I'm going to say if @users 0 dot present and then we'll just say else, and then n, just to see if this even works. I'm not even sure. No users found, and then we'll save and refresh, and as you can see it says no users found. And the reason that we do this is because we check to see if the first user is present, and if there is no first user, then we know that there are no users in total, and we can just display no users found. I'm just going to get exclamation mark before the @users, just see if that works. Okay, and now we can get rid of the else. So now we're saying if there are no users, then display the no users found, and that should work. If we refresh, as you can see, it does. I'll just put it in a H2, just to make it a little bit more obvious. Okay, so now I'm going to go over what actually is happening and how to make this work. So the first thing that we did was that we installed the ransack gem. This is very important, so add the gem ransack and then run bundle install. The next thing that we did was create a controller. We called it profiles controller, and if we go to profiles controller, we have 3 actions. They're called index, users, search query, and we're just matching the usernames of the users that begin with the search query or contain the search query, and then we're specifying that the @users array is equal to those users, those correct users. Then we go to profiles index. We use profiles index, and we see that we have a do loop rendering every user. But when I say every user, I mean every correct user or every user that matches the search query. Then when we go to layouts, navbar.html.erb, we have the form. We have a form with URL, so it takes us to the profiles index path, which is a URL in our application. We have the method get, and in the form we just have our query as a search field. We have our placeholder that says search, so when I get rid of it, it says search. We have a class of search field, and then we have the submit button. Then we have a style sheet that just styles the application. That's not that important. And then finally, to make it all work, in the config routes.rb, we have a get profile/index, which will take us to the profiles index page and actually make the profiles index page show up. So I have the notepad here just for my own benefit. And first you just install ransack, then add the root, then run the command, then add the code to the controller, then add this code to the view, and then add the form, and then you can just add the style sheet and to style the navbar, which is optional. So thank you for watching the video. If this helped you, give a thumbs up or subscribe, and I'll see you in the next Instagram clone video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. In this video, we're going to make a admin panel where we can view all of the posts in our application. We can view all of the users in our application. We can see their IDs, we can edit them, we can delete them. This is for the admins of our application. You can specify the specific admins. That's what we're going to do in this video. Let's get started. So to accomplish users either being a user or an admin, we have to give them a role column in the users table. So go to schema.rb, and we want to add this t.integer role. So never manually edit the schema.rb. We're going to create a migration, and the migration is going to be called Rails. If I just scroll down, Rails G migration, add role to users, role : integer. This is the migration that we're going to create, and it is going to add this role column to the users. So hit enter, and then that will create the new migration. So now when we go to db migrate, and then the newest migration, we have this change action, and we're saying add column role to the users table, and the role is an integer. So we need to hit Rails db migrate in order for this to actually work. So go ahead and do Rails db migrate. And just so you know, I've already done this in my application. That's why. So I'm just reversing the steps to show you how I did it, how I accomplished it. So I have already done this in this particular app. The reason is because I just recorded a tutorial, and halfway through the tutorial, the microphone stopped working. And so I'm recording it again right now. Anyway, go to app, models, and the user.rb. And this is the code that we added in this. And so we added an enum to the role column. And basically what an enum is it confines the values that the role can have. And the values in this case are user or admin. So our users are either going to be a user or an admin. And then we're saying, after initializing, run the set default role action. And in the set default role action or method, we're saying self.role is equal to admin. This means that any user that signs up to the application will be automatically an admin. And to change this, we could just change it to a user, but in this case, we're going to make it an admin. Now what we can do is run the Rails S, and we're going to try and sign up, and then we're going to try and display a message to the newly created admin. So run Rails S, and then we're going to, I'm just going to sign out, and so I'm just going to sign up, and I'm going to give it an email of admin1@gmail.com, and then I'll just give it a password. And I forget if we have any validations. No, we don't. Okay, so just hit sign up. Okay. And as you can see, it says, welcome, you signed up successfully and you are an admin. To display this, you are an admin, we're going to go to views, posts, and the index page. And this is the code that I added for this. So go to the top of the index page, and we're saying if the user is signed in, if the user is an admin, display the message, you are an admin. Make sure that when you're using the current user variable, it's always wrapped in a user signed in, or in the controller, you've said to make it so that the user is authenticated, because if not, you will be given an error. But anyway, add this code, and then what we're going to do is install a gem, and that gem will give us the admin panel that I showed you at the beginning of the video. So I have the page pulled up right here, and we're just going to install it. So go to our gem file and add that gem. So go to gem file, so you can just search it up, or it's in the bottom of the application so go to gem file, and then under my custom gems, you can see I've already installed this gem. So add gem rails_admin, and that'll be enough for now. Save the file, stop the server, run bundle install. This will install all of the gems that we specified in the gem file. Then we're going to run the command called railsadmin install. So hit enter. This will create the root for the engine in our routes.rb, and it will also create an initializer. As you can see, it gave me this because I've already actually run this command but for you it would have said generated or created a route and some other things. You would have also gotten to step 4 where it says provide a namespace for the routes when asked, and you can just hit enter there, and that will make it default to the default place. So hit enter after running this command, and then it will work. Now we're going to run the Rails S, and we're going to go to /admin. If we go to config routes.rb, we can see that we have this new route, and it says mount Rails admin engine to /admin as Rails admin. So we're going to go to /admin in our application, and as you can see, we have lots of models, and we can see all of our models in the database. So we have our posts table, our users table, our likes table, and our comments table. And as an admin, we can see all of this. Now, one thing that is wrong here is that any user in our whole application, whether they're signed out or signed in or a user or an admin, they can see this admin page. And to fix that, we're going to go to config initializers to railsadmin.rb, and I added this line of code. So we're saying config.authorized with do, and redirect to the main app root path unless the current user is an admin. So make sure to add this so that only admins can access this panel, and then that will work, and the user will have to be authenticated as an admin to access this panel. Now this panel is very extensive. You can just view objects, or you can delete them or edit them, and all of the information that you can actually get about them. So it's very, very, very extensive, and that's what I like about it. It's also easy to set up, and so that's why we're using it. Now, as an admin, we don't want to have to go and type in /admin every time we want to go to the admin panel. So go to app, views, layouts, navbar.html.arb. And as you can see, I added this if current user.admin ? This checks that if the user is currently an admin, if they are an admin, render whatever is inside of this if statement. So we're saying link to the admin panel, go to the Rails admin path, and give it a class of navlink. And so when I go to the navbar, as you can see, we have this admin panel. I can click it, and as an admin, I am redirected to this admin page, and it works. If I go to home, and then I click sign out, and now when I try and go to the admin panel, it doesn't show up here, so that means that it worked. And if I also go to add/admin, it will redirect me to the home page of the application, so that's really nice. So I'm just going to recap on everything that we did in this video to help you get a good understanding. So we went to db schema.rb, and we added this role column so that we can actually access the role of the users. Then we went to models, so go to models user.rb, and we added this after initialize, set the default role of the user to the admin, and we gave it an enumeration as well to make sure that the values are either user or admin. I have a video on my channel on enums, on what enums do, so watch that video if you need to. After adding the role and adding the set the default role, we went to views, posts, index to html.arb, and at the top we added If the user is an admin and they're signed in, display the message, you are an admin. And so if, just to make sure that we can tell that users are actually an admin, we could just remove this because we're also displaying the link to the admin panel. And that's what we're going to add next. So go to layouts, navbar.html.ab, and we added this link to the admin panel. We're saying if the user is an admin, give them the link to the admin panel, which is the Rails_admin_path. And finally, to make sure that it is a little bit safer, we went to Rails_admin.rb, and this is in the config initializers, and we added this little patch of code, and it basically just makes sure that the user is an admin. If they're not an admin, just redirect them to the home page and don't let them visit the page. So in this video, we added an admin panel to our application, InstaClone. In the next video, I'm thinking to add some analytics or something like that. Thank you for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. In this video, we're going to add pagination. Pagination is essential for our app, and it means that we will lazily load each post as we need it, instead of loading every single post in the database. Pagination is something that we have to do, and in this video, we're going to accomplish it. Alongside pagination, we're also going to make it so that posts only show up if you're following the user that created them. So without further ado, let's get started. There are a variety of gems that we could use for pagination, but I believe that Pagey is the most suitable one in our case, so we're going to use Pagey. To get Pagey installed, we have to go to the gem file, and we're just going to add the gem Pagey. Once we have this installed, we have to save the file, and we have to run the command bundle install in the terminal. So hit enter on that command. That will install Pagey, and now Pagey is installed. We also have to do some additional work, so go to postcontroller.rb, and we're going to add include Pagey : backend. And this is going to make some extra methods accessible to us, and then also we're going to go to application_helper.rb, and we're going to do that, we're going to go include Pagey frontend. I'm on Pagey's documentation on their GitHub page, and they have very well documented code, and that's one of the reasons that I chose this gem. But anyway, add the include in the controller and in the application helper, and now we have Pagey actually installed. The next thing that we want to do is go to controllers, post controller where we just were, and instead of posts is equal to post.all, what we're going to do is we're going to say post is equal to post.order. And we're going to say created_at, we'll say ascending, and then we'll also say at Pagey, at posts is equal to Pagey, and then we'll just say items 1. Basically what this means is that we're going to allow one item per page. So hit save on that, and then what we're going to do is go to posts, index, and what we're actually going to do first is run the Rails S. Oh, I seem to have an error in the post controller. Go back to the post controller. We have to add a equals, greater sign, and then a colon. So anyway, so hit save on that, and then go to index.html.db in the posts folder, and then run the server, and we should get this page. Okay, so we just have a rendering of all the posts, but actually we're only rendering one post, and the reason for that is because we said only render one post using the items 1. If we change this to 2, we'll render 2 posts. So save and refresh, and 2. We'll change it back to 1 for now. So what we want to do is make it so that we can say next, previous page, and stuff like that. And this is quite simple using Pagey. So what we're going to do is just say Pagey_nav, and make sure to add another 2 equal signs. So 1 equal sign for the embedded Ruby and another equal sign. You could also just say raw, and then Pagey nav, and I believe it's just at Pagey. Save the file, refresh, and we should get a Pagey navigation. Okay, and as you can see, we do. One thing is that it doesn't look very good, so what we're going to do is go to config, initializers, and we're going to create a new file, and this is going to be called pagey.rb. Then what we're going to do is add 2 libraries or dependencies. We're going to go require quotes pagey/extras/countless. This is just a library that we need, and then we're also going to do require pagey/extras/bootstrap, because we want this navigation to have bootstrap styling. So then go back to index.html.db, And instead of that, we're going to go and, okay, I have the documentation here. And we're just going to say pagey underscore bootstrap underscore nav. Then it will look a lot better. It didn't work because we have to install the server, or restart the server, sorry, in order for the initializer to do its thing. So restart the server, and then we should have access to this bootstrap nav. So refresh, and as you can see, now we have a bootstrap nav that has many pages, and we can go to each individual page and it will show each post. So that is pagination finished. Thank you for watching. No, I'm joking. We want our pagination to look like Instagram's pagination. We just scroll endlessly. We don't have to go to different pages. So we're going to accomplish that now. The first thing that we're going to do is create a new file, and we're going to call it index.turbo_stream.erb. Now I'm just going to copy and paste some code that I have in my notepad. I'll actually just show the notepad to you. This is the tutorial that I wrote it out first just so I know what I'm doing. It's like my notes. And so first we're saying turbostream.append posts, and we're saying append whatever's in this do loop to the post div in the index page when we call this turbostream. And then we're saying we have a do loop of all the posts, and if the user is signed in and the user is following the post user, then render the post. Simple enough. Then we're going to add, if user is not signed in, render all of the posts, because it's better to render posts if a user is not signed in than don't show the user anything at all. This is optional. It's just something that I like to do. And then finally after that, we're going to say if pagey.next.present. So we're basically saying if there is another page after this one, then we're saying turbostream.replace pagination do. Then we have a turbo frame tag, which is also called pagination, and it essentially just says to load the next. So save that file and then go to index.html.erb, and we have to call this turbo stream from this index.html.erb. So how do we do that? Well, instead of having this raw pagey bootstrap nav at pagey, we don't want that. I'm going to get rid of all of this, and then we're going to go turbo frame tag results, and then we have a data turbo action advance. Then we have a post div. Remember that we said in the turbo stream, we said append to the post div. So append all of this to the post div. And then we're also saying that it's lazy, and we're going to the post path, and we're getting the turbo stream from the post path turbo stream. So save that file and refresh, and we'll see what we get. Okay, and we get and it seems to be working. If I unlike and like a post, there are weird things happen. So to fix this, what I'm actually just going to do is go to controllers, likes controller.rb, and instead of redirecting to root path, we're going to go at like.post. So we're going to go to the specific post, so at like.post, and then we'll take us to the actual post. If we try and like another post, it will take us to the post, and we can create a comment if we want. Next, I'm going to go to post controller, and where it says pagey, I'm just going to add an underscore countless. And then finally, there's one last thing that we have to do. If we try to sign, so if I sign out and then I sign up, and then I try and log in as the person I was just signed in as, it will not work. And the reason that it won't work is because we have to have turbo false in our forms now. So go to Devise, sessions new. After where it says resource name, add a data, colon, like curly braces, and say turbo false, just to turn off turbo. And then we're also going to add this to our other forms as well. So go to registrations new, add it here, and then we'll go also put it here on the edit page, and that should be enough for now. Now when I refresh, it will automatically sign me in, but if I just sign out again just to make sure that it worked, so I'll sign up, log in, okay, and we're getting an error. I probably made some syntax error. It's good that I tried it out. Okay, what we'll actually just do is put it for the URL and then add a comma there, and now it should work. Okay, and it does. And then we'll just make sure that, okay, sign up page is working. Log in, go to registrations edit, and we'll just add this data turbo false before the HTML, add a comma after as well. Okay, and so now we'll try and log in, and as you can see, it takes me to the home page, and I can like a post, or I can unlike it. It will take me to the post, and the pagination is working. It will only show me posts that I am following. So if I unfollow this user, it won't show me any posts. And I'm actually just going to add so pagination is working, which is very, very useful. If I press home, it will not load all of the posts. It will just load one of them, and then it will load all of the next ones when I scroll down. So that is working. Also, if I unfollow this user, it won't show me any posts. So that's also working. If I upload a post, it will no longer show me my own posts on the home page. So that's good. Create post, and it won't show me my home because it only shows the posts that are made by the users that I'm following. So that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. And actually, I'm just going to recap what we did. So I have the notepad here. I may as well use it. So first, we added the gem to the gem file. Then we added the include backend and include frontend to our application and post controller. Then in the post controller, we added posts. Then in the post controller, we added @pages equal to @posts, where we added page account list. Then we created pagey.rb and we said require these extra dependencies. Then we created the Bootstrap nav. And then finally, we created the turbo stream. We rendered it. And we basically said, hey, if we're reaching the end of the post, then render another turbo stream. And then we also, in the likes controller, we said redirect to @like.post. And in the Devise views, we said data turbo false. So thank you for watching. In this video, we added pagination. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. So this was how to add analytics in our application. Now we'll be able to see where the users are accessing and on what dates. On the left, I have my browser. On the right, I have my VS Code and the terminal. The first thing that I'm going to do is go to the gem file, and then I'm going to add a gem, and that gem is called gem active_analytics. So under my custom gems, I'm going to create a new gem. I'm going to say gem active_analytics. To actually install this gem, we have to run bundle install. So in the terminal, run bundle install, which will install all of the gems that are in the gem file. And as you can see, we have 93 gems now installed. We can just scroll up and try and find what's it called, active analytics. And as you can see, here it is, using active analytics 0.2.1. The next thing that we're going to do is run the command rails active_analytics :install migrations. This will install the migrations, and then we'll have to run rails db migrate to actually change the database or the schema.rb. The schema.rb is the file that houses all of the tables. So right now we're just going to come to db migrate and the newest migration just to see what it says. And active analytics, before we continue, I'm just going to talk about what an active analytics actually is. So it's simple traffic analytics for the win of privacy. There are no cookies, no JavaScript, and no third parties, and no bullshit. Active Analytics is a Rails engine directly mountable in your Ruby on Rails application. It doesn't reveal anything about specific visitors. It cannot be blocked by ad blockers or other privacy protecting extensions and doesn't need to. It'll let us know about sources, page views, and the next or previous page. Back to the actual tutorial, we're going to run Rails db migrate to migrate the migrations to the database, and then active Analytics will be installed. That's kind of hard to say. Okay, so now it has migrated to the database. What we're going to do is go to config initializers, and we're going to create a new initializer. So create a new file and call it active_analytics.rb. And then what we're going to do is go to roots.rb, and we're just going to have a look at the new engine that it made. So it says mount engine/admin Rails admin. So now if we go to, and we created this file, but the next thing that we need to do is go to controllers, then application controller. And I'm just going to copy and paste in this action. So we're saying before action, record the page view. And this is going to record each page view using the analytics engine. And it's going to record each page view. Then it says, in case you don't want to record all page views because each application has sensitive URLs such as password reset and so on, simply define a skip before action record page view in the relevant controller. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. So skip before action, record page view, and we're going to put that in all of the users controller because we don't need to look at that. So skip before action, record page view. I'll just put it in all of them, even though we don't really need to, but put it in all of them because these are pages that shouldn't be really visible. And so now we're not going to record page views on any of the user pages. The next thing that we have to do is add the route to Active Analytics dashboard at the desired endpoint. So I'm going to copy and paste this mount active analytics, and I'm going to go to config routes.rb. I'm going to paste it in at the top, and we're saying mount active analytics engine at analytics, and this will create an engine at /analytics in our application. So I'm going to run the Rails server, And then we're going to have a look at this analytics engine that we just created, and we're going to see if it works. Okay, so I'm going to go to localhost 3000 and we're getting an error. I'll just refresh. Okay, now I'm going to go to /analytics. Okay, and as you can see, the analytics is actually working, but we don't have any data. So I'm just going to go back to the home page and I'm just going to create some, like, actually do some stuff. Maybe I'll just sign up. Okay, and we're getting an error and it says before process action callback record page view. I just have to save the application controller.html.rb or .rb. And then we're just going to try and log in, and then we'll just go to /analytics or /analytics, and we should have some data now. Okay, and now as you can see, we do. Your active analytics may look a little bit different, and the reason is because I have removed the footer in the actual gem, and I'm going to show you how to do this now. So go back to the terminal, and we're going to type in gem which active _analytics. This will tell us where we installed the gem, and then we're going to open up File Explorer and we're going to follow that path. So for me, it's in C drive, and then we go to Ruby, and then we go to lib Ruby gems 3.1 gems, and then active _analytics, and then here is the code for the active analytics. It's also on the GitHub. So yeah, and we can just edit what we see here. So if I just go to layouts and then active analytics and in the footer, and I just get rid of everything in the footer, I save that file and then I refresh, we won't have a footer on this page anymore. I just have to also start the server again, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, so now as you can see, we don't have a footer. So this file and this active analytics controls this view. So now we know, so now we understand that we can change it to our liking. Just considering that we added this analytics page in just a few minutes, I'd say it's pretty good. Okay, and so the analytics is working, but the only problem is that any user can view the analytics page. So what I'm going to do, and we want to make it so that only admins can access this page. So in routes.rb, I'm going to add this little bit of code. This will only work using Devise, just to let you know. And basically we're saying that if the user is not an admin, and what this means is that if the user is an admin, then mount the route, and if they're not an admin, then don't mount the route. It's very, very simple. And if I refresh, it will take us to the login page because we have to log in as an admin. If I log in, then it will take me to the analytics page and it works. So this was how to add analytics in our application. Now we'll be able to see where the users are accessing and on what dates. Thank you for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is add a counter of how many followers and followings that each user has. So go to views, users, and _user.html.arb. And what we're going to do is in the call-12 text center div, and to add a follower count, we're going to say embedded Ruby with an =, user.followers.count, and this will give us the follower count, and it gives us the count, and then we're just going to say followers after that, then wrap it in a h. We won't say h1, that's a bit too big. We'll say h6, wrap it in a h6, save and refresh. Okay, and while we're here, I'm just going to change every single one to a h4 instead of a h1, and then we're also going to just do the same thing, but we're going to do it for the followings. So we're just going to say user.following.count and user.following.count, and then we should see the followers and the following. All right, so that's pretty good. The next thing that we want to do is provide a link to the actual user so that then we could actually see their bio and their username and more. So we're going to say link underscore or embedded Ruby link underscore to, and then we'll just copy and paste in these values, and then we're just going to say user. So I'm just going to copy and paste this link to two times, and then copy and paste in the values of the other things that we want. Okay, so we want to link to the email as well, and then we also want to link to the username. We'll just type in bio. Actually, we'll get rid of bio and we'll get rid of the h4 as well, because we don't want to show the bio on when we're not actually showing the particular user. Okay, so now we have a link to each user and it takes us to the page. So the following button is out of the div, so we're just going to fix that, and we're going to put everything inside of the div. That way It's just better. Okay, there we go. Now we have added a counter of how many followers and how many people they are following, but we also want to add who they're actually following and who their followers are. So I'm just going to show you how to do this. So we're going to show it in the show page, and first we're just going to copy and paste everything into this div. We're going to show it in the show page, and after the button to follow, we're going to say at user.followers.each do follower. And then we need an end block, and I'm not actually going to implement this, I'm just showing you how to do it. So we're just going to say render follower. So this will show every detail of the people that are following the person. So that guy has 0 followers, that's why nothing came up. This guy has 2 followers, admin@gmail.com. I'll click on him, and as you can see, we can see everyone that's following, and we can follow them ourselves if we want to. So to add all of the people that they're following, we just do the same thing, but we change every followers to a following, and then we get a list of every person that the person is following. So save and refresh, and this person is not following anyone, so we'll go to someone that is following someone, and then we'll get that list. So this person is following one person, click on them, we get the list of who they are following, and it's admin@gmail.com. So we've added the following relationships. In the last video, we added pagination. So you could just add pagination for all of these users, and then also the followings. And also you could make a button that makes this div show up when you click it, like Instagram. But we're not going to do that in this video because realistically, that's just styling. There's no Ruby involved, and I'm just focusing on Rails in this course or this tutorial. One thing that I noticed is that when we view our own profile, it still shows the follow button. We shouldn't be able to follow ourselves. So to fix that, what I'm going to do is we're on the show page, and we're just going to say if user.following user. In the show page, we're just going to say if at user.id is equal to current_user.id, then what we're going to do is say else. And so if the user ID is not equal to the current one, then we're going to show the follow button. So now it's gone, and we don't show the follow button, so that's good. What else did next to add? In the users controller, or in the profiles controller, I added this. We're actually just going to go back to the profiles controller in controllers, profile controller, and we're just going to fix up this code. So instead of the index, we're going to put everything into the index action. So put everything into the index action. Okay. And then what we're going to do is say search_query is equal to params query. At users is equal to users. We can get rid of that, and then get rid of these two actions. And I believe everything will still work now. So we'll try and start something up. Press B. No users found. Okay, it still works. That's good. So just some code cleanliness there. And the next thing that we want to add is a page where we can discover new posts. So the first thing that I'm going to do is close out all of my VS Code tabs, and we're going to add a new view. Now, where are we going to add the new view? Well, we're going to add it in posts, the post folder, and we're going to add a new file. And we're going to call it we'll call it discover.html.arb. And in this file, we're going to put the posts that have the most views and the most likes. But in this video, we're just going to make it the most likes. So the first thing that we need to do is provide a link to this page to make sure everything is working. So we're going to go to layouts, navbar.html.arb. We're going to add another link, and we're just going to give it the discovery, or the post_discovery_path. So we're going to say post_discovery and then _path. Then we're going to say discover posts. And I believe this will work because we have the resources. Okay, no, we don't. It doesn't work. We need to go to config routes.rb. We need to add a new route, and we're just going to say get posts/myposts. We can just say get posts/discovery. Then we won't get this error. Okay, so now we should be able to go to that page, discover posts, and it says the action discovery could not be found for post controller. The reason it says that is because in Rails, you have to have a controller action for each page. So go to the post controller and then add a def discovery and then refresh, and we should not get that error. Okay, and then we're getting another error. Post controller #discovery is missing a template for requests, formats, HTML, text.html. So go to posts. Maybe I named it wrong. Okay, so I named it discover. So we're actually just going to change it in the post controller. We're going to change it to discover. save the file, then go back to roots.rb, and then make it discover, save and refresh, and everything should work. Okay, and we're getting an error because we need to go to layouts, navbar.html.erb, and we need to make this post underscore discover underscore path. Okay, so now we're on that page finally, and the first thing that I'm going to do is go to post controller, and we're just going to say @posts is equal to post.all, and then we're just going to, in that page, we're going to add a simple do loop of every single post. So go to posts, discover.html.erb, and we're going to say @post.each do post end block to make sure that, because we need an end block because we have a do statement, and then we're going to say render post, save and refresh, and now we should get every single post. I'm just getting this error because of something I added earlier, but you shouldn't get that error. Okay, and now it gives us a list of every single post. Alright, so we have a do loop of every single post in the database, and we could add pagination, but we've already done that in a different video, in the last video I think. So what we're actually going to add is a view counter. We're going to do that in the next video. Thank you for watching, subscribe, the next part will be in the description, and I'll see you in the next one. So in this video, we're going to launch our app using Fly. Fly is a service that can launch our app and put it on the internet for everyone to see. As you can see, I have instaclone.fly.dev, so it's online, all for free, although we do need to put our credit card onto the service, but it doesn't actually charge anything. Anyway, I digress. The first thing that we have to do is install Fly. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, I'm going to search up install Fly because that's the way to get the docs. So we have to follow one of these commands. So first of all, we have Mac, then Linux, and then Windows. Obviously, you do the one that is for your designated operating system. I'm on Windows, so I'm just going to install it using Windows. So I'm going to navigate to the correct directory. So I'm going to go to cd documents/github/instaclone. And then I'm just going to run this command. It's going to install Fly. As you can see, it says writing web request, writing request stream, and the number of bytes written. It might say something different if you're on Linux or Mac, but as long as the Fly command works, then it works. And for me, it says flyctl.exe is denied the access. So what I'm going to do, so I just deleted Fly, and I'm just going to run that command again. But anyway, the point is you want to be able to run the Fly command and not receive an error. That means that it is successfully installed. So now it's installing for me. I'm just going to come back when this is done. I'll see you later. Okay, and now it says Fly was successfully installed. So what I'm going to do is say flyctl-help, and it looks to be working. If it's your first time with Fly, the next step will be to sign up. So go ahead and do that. Sign up, add your email, create an account, all of that. But after you've done that, we're going to run a command where it's going to be fly auth login. And it might even be flyctl auth login. And then we can continue as to our account. And as you can see, it says successfully logged in as Pova Business. The next thing that we have to do is actually upload our app. So what we're going to do is run the command flyctl launch. And that should build an app in our instaclone directory and add a few files. So it's doing lots of stuff now, don't worry, it's just what it does. I'll see you when it's done. It does take quite a bit of time, so yeah. I'll make a video comparing all of the cloud service platforms that can host our apps, but as I'm already showing a video on how to do it with Fly, Fly clearly isn't a terrible option, especially because you can do it for free and host the app for free. That's something that the others don't really offer. So it's just installing SAS and all of the gems. It takes quite a while. Okay, now finally that command looks to be finished. I'm going to head over to the actual docs and then getting started. And the next command to run after we see one desired, one placed, and one healthy is fly deploy. So I'm going to run flyctl deploy, and make sure to be cd'd into the correct directory, by the way. But after we run that command, we should be able to view it online. I might just use the command to do a fly open, which will open the app. Actually do flyctl open, and it says we're sorry, but something went wrong. All right, time to fix this. So I'm just going to run the command flyctl logs-a instaclone, which will tell us the logs. And it says could not find table posts. Okay, so I imagine there's something wrong with the link up to the database. So what I'm going to do is just delete the app and try again. We actually forgot to say yes to the Postgres database. So when you're saying yes to the Postgres database and it asks you if you want to set up a Postgres database, say yes, then it will set it up and actually work. That's the problem here. I think it migrated it to the wrong place and that's why it didn't work. So make sure to say yes to the Postgres database now. I selected development single node, 1x shared CPU, 256 megabytes of RAM and a gigabyte disk. And then I'm also going to say yes to the Upstash Reddit database and I'm going to say free. The next thing we're going to do is say fly deploy or flyctl deploy. This video is the last part of the Instagram clone series. So we could have done another video. We could have done we could have done 10, 20 more videos based on emailing and image storing and image resizing. But I think we're just going to end it there and I'll make those tutorials based on other. And as you can see, the app actually seems to be working. I'm going to try and create a post when I log in. First, okay, upload post. Hello, first post. This is first post. Open create post. You can see just the images. Go back to home. And that's fine. But if I click on discover posts or search, I can see all the users. I can't follow myself, but discover posts. And I'll see the post. I can like it. And so yeah, the application is working. So the images. So thank you for watching. Subscribe. I'll have more series out on different apps and websites in the future. I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe, like the video or whatever. Bye.